one that I have been anticipating since before I even ran for office. I would like to thank and acknowledge my colleagues from the City Council who are present today: Councilmember Barron, Councilmember Caban, Councilmember Brewer, Councilmember Hudson, Councilmember Aviles, Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, Councilmember Ari Kagan, Councilmember Oswald Feliz, and I'm sure we will be joined by others. New York City and municipalities across the United States of America are facing a dire housing crisis. It is not one that is felt equally by all New Yorkers or all those who call America home, but one with pain concentrated in low-income communities, communities of color, and one that is felt by underrepresented people like persons living with disabilities, sexual and gender minorities, religious minorities. They feel it the most. That this pain is felt differentially is widely documented. It is the function of the history of this great nation. Government and private sector policies like redlining that devalued certain communities because they house people of color. Investments like the GI Bill and favorable mortgages and policies that transferred no less than $100 billion in 1950 dollars, which equates to $1 trillion in 2023, transferred to white families in the post-war period, and this at the exclusion of minority communities. These set the stage for white families to have an average net worth today of $188,000 versus black families who have a median net worth of $24,100, an eightfold difference. To the lowest income New Yorker, being housing insecure means homelessness. This is the 70% of my constituents in District 14 who are housing cost burdened. And a worker in my community earns just $21,000 per year. This means children who are forced to commute for hours from a shelter in Queens to their school in my district in the Bronx, oftentimes missing invaluable class time because of the long distances traveled, missing key moments with their school friends. It means a parent being far from family and social supports. It means community-level stress that blocks opportunities, that entire blocks and neighborhoods feel when their apartments are falling apart, when heating is insufficient, and when they look at their paychecks nonetheless and their bills at the end of each month and know fully that they will not be able to make ends meet. And as we know, the manifestation of that community-level stress that's sourced from housing insecurity, it ripples through our communities in terms of job insecurity, food insecurity, poor health outcomes, and ultimately, even, as 64,000 New Yorkers have said, in violence in communities. Today's hearing is about working toward a response to the housing crisis that includes these stories and experiences, more than includes, that centers these stories and experiences. The President of the United States issued a housing supply action plan in May of 2022, including policies to preserve and create hundreds of thousands of affordable units, with air quotes, reducing housing costs, ensuring affordability through rental assistance, down payment assistance. Yet, we don't hear about the deepest levels of affordability. The governor's budget and housing compact includes a goal to build 800,000 new units of housing. It includes a mandate that communities across the state need to contribute to this goal. Laudable, but it is also devoid of mention for whom the housing will be built. Yes, we need to build more housing to serve all income levels, and we need to support home ownership. Yet, we must focus on the reality that it is the lowest income New Yorkers who are suffering the most. Without a mass infusion of dedicated resources, capital dollars for the lowest income affordable housing production and preservation, a meaningful infusion of housing access vouchers that allows tenants to pay expensive rents, we will not move the needle. The mayor's housing blueprint and the City of Yes zoning proposals contain policies also to reduce red tape, to spur development, and improve, importantly, customer service and experience at the agencies that interface with our lowest income New Yorkers, but not a capital commitment, not a deep dollar figure that is going to move the needle. So together, these efforts, yes, are laudable. I will be largely in support of many of these. And I am glad to see attention finally coming to housing policy. But we need an incisive focus on the lowest income New Yorkers. Enough is enough. It's too expensive to build and stabilize folks in their homes can no longer be the reason for inaction. And so we are here today because we say yes and. The and, let's build housing, let's build all across, but that and is let's make it affordable and let's make it reverse trends of historic inequities and racism through social housing. Social housing refers to housing for social good. At least that's how I talk about it. It includes housing that is meant to be permanently, deeply affordable, removed from commodification interests, removed from speculation. And it includes housing that can be more community controlled, democratically governed. It means that we look at city assets, even ones that are problematic, in a positive light. We have over 15,000 underutilized parcels of land in the city of New York. How many units can we fit on those? We have over-leveraged properties, speculators who have taken more and more and more debt and put buildings in distress. What about if we can give those landlords, those owners, a way out that includes ownership via social housing? Social housing centers mission-driven entities, including cooperatives, nonprofit-owned and controlled entities, community land trusts, HDFCs, Michelamas, and public housing. And importantly, critically for me, social housing discussions that we are starting in the city of New York here must center the construction and the building of brown and black wealth. Without a focus on wealth building for historically excluded communities and families, we are not moving the needle. Without stabilizing families in their homes, we're not moving the needle. Today is about beginning to expand the conversation to meet the challenging realities that folks are facing. I, for one, am tired. I'm tired of coming back to my community after this press release or this announcement and getting the question, Pierina, what does that mean for me? Am I gonna get one of those 800,000 apartments? And the answer being, probably, no. That's not fairness. That's not justice for a community like mine. We need a paradigm shift, a discussion of housing that does not leave out the vast majority of New Yorkers who feel the most pain. For me, the discussion must center homeownership, protecting the middle class, yes, and stabilizing the most vulnerable. We're never going to address the issues if we don't talk about who is hurting the most. And the bills today, they create containers for truly deeply affordable housing, wealth building opportunities, and community stability. In December, this committee, the Committee on Housing and Buildings, held a hearing on code enforcement, examining tools that the city has to create and protect what could be social housing. See, this is part of a narrative. This is part of a shift that we're continuing to pursue in the City Council. And so today, we're going to be hearing several pieces of legislation. I'll touch on them, but the bill sponsors will do their own introductions. A few. Because we need to grow this sector devoted to housing for social good, and community organizations with the financial wherewithal should have the opportunities to purchase first. Intro 196, sponsored by Councilmember Carlina Rivera, would create the first opportunity to purchase, the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act. Because we cannot miss a single opportunity to create social housing on public land, Intro number 637, sponsored by Councilmember Ressler, relates to the disposition of real property by the city. Because land banks are a proven model across this nation, and New York City is late to the game, Intro 714, sponsored by Councilmember Gail Brewer, relates to the creation of a land bank. Because our city's leadership needs to focus on growing the social housing sector, Intro number 932, sponsored by Councilmember Nurse, relates to studying the feasibility of establishing a social housing agency. Because folks should have the right to remain in their long-time homes and build equity, Resolution number 38, sponsored by Public Advocate Williams, calls for state legislation mandating that any owner selling a multi-unit residential dwelling must first offer to sell that building to tenants within the building. When I say COPA, USA TOPA. Because stabilizing our lowest income New Yorkers should be a priority, Resolution 344, sponsored by Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, calls upon the state legislature to pass and the governor to sign A3701B and Senate Bill 2804B, creating a housing access voucher program. Because we need to stabilize renters in their homes, Resolution number 506, sponsored by Councilmember Nurse, calls for the passage of good cause eviction. And I will stop there. So we are our teams here in the City Council. I'd like to thank deeply all of the staff that was involved in the preparation for this hearing. My chief, Sam Cardenas, Legislative Director, Communications Director, that's 2 jobs, y'all, Kadeem Robinson, as well as Housing and Buildings Committee staff, Taylor Zaloni, Audrey Sun, Jose Conde, Charles Kim, Dan Krupp, and Brooke Fry. Thank you for your tireless work leading up to this hearing. Now I will acknowledge my colleagues to introduce, to open remarks on their legislation. So first up, our Public Advocate, Jumaane Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for your leadership in holding this hearing today. As mentioned, my name is Jumaane Williams, and I'm the Public Advocate of the City of New York. For years, New York State has trailed behind the rest of the country in rates of homeownership. In 2022, it had the lowest homeownership rate in the country at 53.6%, 12 percentage points below the national average of 65.8%. With a market that is predominantly rental, New York City falls even further behind with a rate of 31.9% homeownership as of 2019. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated the housing crisis in both city and state, leaving many unable to pay their rents and at risk of eviction. Property owners and other landlords seek to turn a profit during the pandemic, sold their properties, leaving tenants in these buildings at higher risk of eviction and displacement. Resolution 38 calls on the New York State legislature to pass and the governor to sign legislation mandating that any owner intending to sell a multi-unit resident dwelling must first make a fairly appraised offer of sale to the tenants within the residence before making any sale offers to third parties. Tenants would then have an opportunity to sell their interest to a community nonprofit or community land trust that would then own and maintain the building. This would place these properties in the hands of those who have the residents' best interests at heart and will restore security and stability in the lives of tenants. By enacting this law, New York stands to boost homeownership, preserve affordable units, and further mitigate displacement amidst a housing and homelessness crisis. The impact of the program is best exemplified by the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, TOPA, enacted in Washington, D.C. in 1980. Through tenant advocacy, TOPA was significantly contributed to D.C.'s total number of limited equity cooperative housing units, which currently stands at 4,400 units. Resolution 3344 calls on the New York State Legislature to pass and the governor to sign A3701B and S2804B, establishing a housing access voucher program. Rental assistance in the form of the housing vouchers for New Yorkers who are homeless or who face an imminent loss of housing is a vital tool to help end homelessness and to keep those at risk of homelessness housed. With rising rents and stagnant wages, preventing families from losing housing is key in fighting future homelessness. This program is actually one of the things that we can immediately do to help people who are struggling to pay their rent and facing homelessness. The production and preservation of social housing is key for city and state plans in addressing the housing crisis. I know the name scares people. I've been trying to think of another name, but I can't, but it's still a great program. Don't be afraid. The passing of this resolution, as well as several other key pieces of legislation, such as Intro 196, when you say COPA, we say TOPA, will be a first step in committing to and implementing social housing principles and policies. We do want to make sure that we're clear that the corporate structure of making sure people make as much money as possible is part of the problem. In healthcare, that looks like people dying because they can't afford it. In housing, it looks like people dying because they don't have homes. We have had the highest amounts of homeless New Yorkers dying last year than ever before. And when I had traveled the state recently, won't talk about that, but we did push trying to have 1 million units built or preserved. So I'm happy to see that the governor and the mayor are pushing on that. What is missing from those plans, in my opinion, is discussions of preservation and discussions of affordability, and that's something that we have to make sure includes in that. We are now in the highest rental market in the country, and some studies say the world. We also have the highest amounts of violations. In order to fix this, we have to change the modality that exists. So thank you again, Madam Chair, and thank you to all my colleagues who have bills being heard today.
Thank you so much. I'm filling your shoes, big shoes to fill as housing chair or public advocate.
I'm looking forward to help you doing so much better, and you are doing that. So thank you. Much better than my shoes.
Thank you so much, Public Advocate. So next up, I want to call on Councilmember Ressler for intro remarks.
Thank you so much, Chair Sanchez. We are incredibly fortunate to have you leading this committee. It is a direct result of your leadership that we're hearing this incredibly important package of legislation today. So I just want to express my most immense gratitude to you and to each of the bill sponsors, Councilmembers Nurse and Brewer and Rivera, Public Advocate Williams, on really the tremendous legislation. I am introducing Intro 637, which was previously, an earlier version of it was previously introduced by then Councilmember Lander. And so I especially want to thank him and the New Economy Project and tremendous coalition of community land trusts and community development corporations across the city that have been pushing for this legislation. It's this simple. When public land is being redeveloped, it should be for the public good. We should be prioritizing nonprofit developers and community land trusts to redevelop every single piece of public property in the city of New York for housing, for economic development purposes, for recreation, across the board. And I appreciate that HPD has discretion to require affordability when redeveloping sites, but the stats are clear. It hasn't been happening. And we want to make sure that it isn't subject to the discretion of this or any future administration. We want to mandate it into law. The data couldn't be clearer that nonprofit developers are far more likely than for-profits to build affordable housing, take on complex projects, and maintain affordability in perpetuity. In the previous administration, 78% of all city-owned sites that were redeveloped were awarded to for-profit developers. For-profit companies developed just 18% of those new units for the lowest income bands. Nonprofit organizations allocated twice as many new units for the lowest income earners. If we're going to actually build deeply affordable housing on public land, it means prioritizing nonprofit developers. To put it in context, just 720 units were developed by nonprofit developers from 2014 to 2018, compared to 3,000 units by for-profit developers. That data is profoundly unfortunate, and we have to do better. Public land is a treasure, and we have to make sure that we maximize the opportunity when we develop each and every lot. We are failing to do that. I mean, I'll give an example. It's a block out of my district in Councilmember Hudson's district, but if you go across the street from BAM at 15 Lafayette in downtown Brooklyn, Fort Greene, public land was sold to Jonathan Rose Companies for $1. It was redeveloped with 25 units at 100% AMIs, 24 units at 165% AMIs, I don't know why we even count AMIs that high, and 74 units at market rate. There was no real affordable housing built in a project that was given away to a developer for $1. And we could go over example after example after example of administration after administration giving away public land and not delivering the affordable housing we need. We welcome the mayor's approach to building more affordable housing, but we need to make sure that there's actually affordable housing that's being generated. And if we don't do it on public land, it's never going to happen. I do not believe that the market will ever solve for the people who are struggling hardest to get by. We need to prioritize it. HPD needs to lead, and that's why we need to pass Intro 637. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your leadership here, Councilmember Ressler. I want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilmember Nurse and Councilmember Carr. Next up, I'm going to call up Councilmember Brewer to talk about the land bank bill.
Thank you very much. Intro 714, which will probably be 714A, because there'll be some changes. But as you know, a land bank could be tasked with acquiring, warehousing, and transferring real property to develop, rehabilitate, and preserve affordable housing. And I too want to thank then Councilmember Lander for his initial introduction, and also say we're not the first city to do this. You'll hear from the chair that she worked in Newburgh, New York. They have a land bank. And you'll hear later from Chris Norman, who is head of probably the best land bank in the country in Atlanta, Georgia. And he has agreed to come and be with us via Zoom. So there's a lot of information out there about land banks. What they would do is, in particular, focus on creating housing, obviously, because they would be able to transform abandoned properties and return them to productive use. Land banks can focus on affordable housing, which is what we're all facing in terms of a crisis, but they can also fresh food stores, public spaces like parks, Some of them have done wildlife conservation areas, and obviously commercial theaters, commercial property like theaters, all of which we need. And the notion would be because they're nimble, because they can accept, they're a nonprofit, so they can accept foundation grants in Atlanta. Many, many foundations are also supporting them, so they can hold the land tax-free. They can obtain the property at low or no costs. Tax foreclosure processes could be a gift, could be an agreement with the municipality. Many of them have MOUs with land trusts, and we have great land trusts in the city, some of whom are sitting here in the audience. They can get demolition liens in Atlanta. The U.S. Attorney, because there's a lot of money laundering that goes off with property, have given it to the land trust. And then the issue is you're exempt from many kinds of mandates that anybody giving property to via the city would have to deal with. So you can make contracts, you can give guarantees, you can incur liabilities, you can borrow money, you can enter into contracts that perhaps others cannot, you can procure insurance, you can invest the property for something else, you can collect rent, sell property, charge fees. What you need, of course, in all of this is a good board, one that is responsive to the issue and the challenge ahead, obviously a good director. All of that is subject to whatever we decide in terms of the legislation itself. And I don't want to spend a lot of time. I think you get the idea. The concept is to be nimble, to be transparent, so everything should be up on the web as to what you are in the process of working on, what your goal is, and exactly what you're going to do with the land. And so I'm here to say we need every tool in the toolbox in order to provide affordable housing, even ideas for open space, and obviously ideas for small commercial enterprises to exist. Everything is needed, and a land bank can do all of that if it's got good governance, and as I said, has good transparency, and obviously follows the law in terms of making sure that it is the kind of land bank that we want in our city. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Brewer, and excited to hear from your guests from Atlanta. Thank you so much. So the next council member we'll hear from is Councilmember Nurse, who has 2 bills today.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for holding this hearing. Today I'm introducing 2 bills. The first, Resolution 506, is calling on the state to pass and the governor to sign good cause eviction. The second bill, Intro 932, is a feasibility study on creating a municipal social housing development agency. New York City has a rich history of social housing, including public housing, cooperatives, and community land trust. But these inroads have been stymied by divestment or malicious and racist narratives that serve to undermine social housing, despite its successful track record. This report would pave the way for a more expansive social housing sector and identify areas of collaboration between city agencies, labor unions, and social housing practitioners. This bill would also look at how we can better streamline social housing development and unlock more funding streams to build housing for those currently left out of the market. Lastly, this bill would change how we organize and fight for social housing, opening up the possibility of truly guaranteeing housing for all. Our good cause resolution calls on the state to pass good cause eviction for the 2 state bills, A5573 and S3082, which would provide some of the strongest set of tenant protections in our lifetime. This bill would prohibit exploitative rent hikes and guarantee lease renewals for up to 784,000 New York City renter households. Importantly, this bill allows tenants to fight for better conditions and power in their buildings without fear of retaliatory evictions. We cannot wait any longer to pass a good cause, and I will do everything in my power to see its passage. Thank you again to our wonderful chair, my colleagues, and to all the staff who helped get these bills over the finish line to this hearing and who are behind the scenes today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Councilmember Nurse. And with that, that concludes our intro remarks from bill sponsors. I will now turn it to our committee counsel to administer the oath, and I want to thank the members of the administration for being here today.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee and to respond honestly to council member questions?
Yes.
Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and members of the New York City Council Committee on Housing and Buildings. My name is Kim Darga, and I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Development with the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. I'm joined by Assistant Commissioner of Housing Policy, Lucy Jaffe. Thank you for the opportunity to testify about social housing, an important and timely conversation, as well as proposed legislation relating to the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, land banks, public dispositions, and the creation of a dedicated social housing agency. As you all know well, the last several years have been difficult for many New Yorkers. In particular, low and moderate income tenants citywide have struggled to find and remain in stable housing. Our vacancy rate remains stubbornly low, below 1% for units renting under $1,500, and rent burden continues to be high. Over 53% of New Yorkers are paying more than 30% of their income toward rent. Homeowners, too, have struggled to remain in their homes due to income disruptions and rising costs. We testified before this committee just weeks ago about accessory dwelling units, acknowledging that many low and moderate income homeowners have been renting out parts of their homes illegally and unsafely just to make ends meet. We all hear regularly about the mom and pop building owners, many of whom have invested their life savings in small buildings across the city and in your districts. They too are struggling with rising costs, such as gas prices, the high cost of building repairs, labor shortages. Nonprofit and MWBE owners and developers face many of these same challenges. And when all these folks can't make ends meet, when they can't afford to pay the gas bills or to fix the boilers or to pay the building staff, critical parts of our housing suffer, and the tenants we're collectively here to serve suffer too. Our housing system is highly interconnected. Within that system, HPD plays a critical role, offering a range of programs to encourage building owners to build new and make capital investments in their buildings, which become income-restricted rental housing, so it will be affordable to more New Yorkers. And while we are committed to innovating new approaches to achieve our mission, our primary obligation is getting tenants into safe, affordable, stable housing quickly. We want to make sure that when we innovate, we do it in ways that minimize major disruptions, which could immediately harm tenants and could harm homeowners and building owners who play a critical role in providing the safe, quality rental housing New Yorkers need. The topic for today's hearing is social housing. There are a wide range of definitions for social housing and a wide range of examples of it in practice, including here in New York City. Some of the best examples in Europe emphasize the important role social housing can play in integrating buildings and neighborhoods. Middle, moderate, and low-income families all live in social housing, decreasing the stigma that low-income families may otherwise face living in income-segregated housing. We share these goals and are committed to breaking down barriers to housing choice so that all New Yorkers can decide whether to remain in their home and current neighborhood or to move to a community that better meets their needs. This is especially critical for communities of color and those living with disabilities who for too long have been excluded from certain parts of the city. These goals are outlined in Housing Our Neighbors, a blueprint for housing and homelessness, and Where We Live NYC. Mission-driven ownership is also a common theme within social housing models. We work to support nonprofits, among other mission-driven entities, to expand their capacity so they can build and preserve more affordable housing. We have dedicated programs and opportunities exclusively available to nonprofits and MWBEs through the New York City Acquisition Fund, NYCAF, for example, a partnership with Enterprise, the Local Initiative Support Corporation, and a coalition of public, private, and philanthropic partners. We offer flexible bridge loans for acquisition and pre-development financing that are now exclusively available to projects led by MWBE or nonprofit developers. Nonprofits and MWBE developers must also represent 25% of the development team for all HPD RFPs on city-owned land. We also now give additional preference points for applicants with community development experience in our competitive RFP process. Shared equity is also a theme in social housing work. To date, we have financed or are currently planning to finance nearly 1,200 units of affordable housing on community land trusts. As part of our Neighbors Blueprint, the city committed to providing technical assistance and operational support, to identifying additional public sites that are suitable for transfer to CLTs, to launching new programs and tools to help CLTs acquire private sites. Many of the 1,200 units will be developed on public sites we will convey through our competitive processes. In September 2021, we announced that we had selected a team comprised of nonprofit, for-profit, and MBE partners, including the Interborough CLT, to develop a site across from Claremont Park in the Bronx that we have included in the Jerome Anthony RFP. Although this RFP did not require or give preference to CLTs, we determined that this team's proposal to create a permanently affordable cooperative on the Interborough CLT was the most compelling submission we received. HPD also provides financing to develop limited equity cooperatives and preservation financing to support their ongoing affordability and maintenance. In limited equity cooperatives, residents purchase shares in their buildings at below market prices, and as shareholders participate in its governance. Appreciation is limited upon resale of shares, typically with income restrictions. There are approximately 1,200 limited equity cooperatives with 25,000 units in New York City. There are also 85 Mitchell-Lama cooperative developments in the city consisting of more than 60,000 affordable and self-governed units. Long-term and often permanent affordability are also fundamental features of social housing programs. These are standard requirements for HPD-financed housing. A critical part of our work is that we achieve these goals: integration, long-term or permanent affordability, shared equity, and mission alignment, regardless of the type of owner or developer with whom we are partnering, and regardless of their legal or ownership structure. Through our regulatory agreements, we dictate the terms and conditions of our engagement. Some of the things HPD can ensure is that owners select tenants, equitably implement rent and income restrictions for units, lease certain units to formerly homeless households, notify the city about transfers of ownership, and provide the city with information to effectively monitor the physical and financial health of projects. Though we try to support and build up nonprofit partners wherever possible, we require that everyone we work with builds, leases, and maintains their buildings in accordance with our mission, regardless of their for-profit or nonprofit status. We are committed to continuing to innovate. We have to do more to help our nonprofit and MWBE partners grow. We will do more to support the expanding network of CLTs. We are expanding and improving our homeownership and shared equity programs, but our primary and most urgent work is getting tenants into stable, safe, and quality housing now. The tenants who are unstably housed in illegal basements, the tenants who have suffered through the pandemic and are struggling to stay in their homes, and the tenants who are in shelter cannot afford to wait. We need more rental housing, especially low-cost and affordable housing. We need to support the homeowners and building owners that are struggling to make the repairs and investments necessary to keep our housing stock safe and high quality. Because of this urgency, we have committed to reducing administrative burden and cutting red tape so that we can make it easier to build more housing of all types in all neighborhoods across the city. We have outlined these commitments in Housing Our Neighbors and have also announced specific strategies through the Get Stuff Built and Zoning for Housing Opportunity initiatives. We also need to unlock tools at the state level to help us achieve these goals, such as Affordability Plus, which would allow HPD to modernize our loan authorities and better address a range of housing needs, from addressing climate resiliency to supporting existing homeowners to providing down payment assistance and enabling us to provide support to CLTs. And we need a deep bench of partners to meet these needs. We will continue innovating and investing in new models, but it can't come at the expense of the tools we need to make more low-cost and affordable housing available to all New Yorkers quickly. In addition to the oversight topic, we are here to discuss several pieces of legislation pending before the council today. As written Intro 196 is very broad, and we believe could undermine the goal of supporting more affordable, mission-driven housing. The breadth of the legislation risks significantly disrupting the housing market, potentially causing the most significant harm to small property owners. As written, this legislation would slow the market for sales of all residential buildings with 3 or more units. We look forward to further discussions with Councilmember Rivera and Council staff on the best way to narrow the scope to achieve the goals of the legislation. In regards to Intro 637, we have a number of resources and programs to expand the capacity of and opportunities for nonprofit partners. We are concerned that limiting our range of available tools, as this bill would, runs counter to other critical and urgent policy goals, particularly our ability to build and preserve as much affordable housing as quickly as we can, and our commitment to expanding opportunities for MWBEs. Though we want to continue exploring ways to make land available for affordable housing quickly and inexpensively, we are concerned that Intro 714 does not solve the current challenges we face in acquiring land for affordable housing. It would instead add time, complexity, and significant costs to the existing process. Land banks are undeniably an important tool in many cities. HPD has the tools that allow the city to achieve similar outcomes as a land bank, and is fortunate to have an infrastructure in place to support the acquisition of property already, unlike a lot of other cities where land banks fill that gap. The Law Department continues to review each of these bills to ensure that they are consistent with the state constitution and state law. As we have laid out here in our testimony and will further discuss during questions, HPD is actively engaged in our work, the proposed Intro 932 would do, including our mission of moving New Yorkers into safe, stable housing. This is an urgent need for New Yorkers, and creating another agency to do this work would make us less efficient and create more silos. We are committed to many of the same goals here today and are continuing to innovate in this area on top of our critical and extensive experience preserving and developing affordable housing. Thank you for the opportunity to testify here today. We look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much. So what I will do is I will ask a few questions, but then I'll turn it over to my colleagues and then resume after they've had a chance, just to be respectful of their time and other commitments. So thank you so much, HPD, for your testimony today. I am optimistic, despite some of the challenges that you all identified with several of the bills. I'm optimistic that we can land on workable solutions that are going to work to improve the city of New York, social housing in the city of New York. So just to start on a sort of big picture question. So Comptroller Lander talks about his beginnings as an affordable houser in the city of New York. So in the 90s, roughly a third of housing production was done by the private sector, a third of it was nonprofit, and a third of it was going to tenants, right? So HDFCs and other models. So can you describe today just HPD's own housing financed or HPD financed projects? How many of those are going, what percentage of those are going to private sector entities versus nonprofit and mission-driven entities?
Sure, thank you. So to start with, New York City has changed dramatically in the last couple decades. I would just start by saying that today, a pretty small percentage of the housing that HPD finances is on public sites. The vast majority of our work is on private sites at this point, not public sites. We do really strongly believe, given the scale of the need in New York City, that we need all partners to be at the table. That's everyone from the single-family property owner that may have a basement that they can convert to owners of existing affordable housing, to developers that would be interested in building new affordable housing. With regard to private sites, it's very complicated to unpack the exact distribution because of ownership structures in affordable housing projects. So a lot of the projects that we finance are structured so they are, there's a housing development corporation involved. They may be a partnership between a nonprofit, a for-profit, for-profit MWBE, myriad organizations. We actually have not been able historically to track where there are MWEs specifically involved in the organizational chart, and we have changed some of our tracking systems recently to be able to better track that information. That same can be said for other types of parties involved in our private site development work. In public sites, we have been able to track some of that, and I would say there's been really significant change in the last few years, especially. In early 2019, well, before that point, we had a preference for respondents that were MWBEs or nonprofits to RFPs. We made that a requirement in 2019. So every RFP at this point in time requires participation by a nonprofit or MWBE. And we do believe that it is important from our perspective and from a policy perspective that we do support minority and women business enterprises as well as other types of developers of affordable housing. Finally, one other note, we have also on private sites, I think it's worth noting that we have set up additional support for certain type of developers to participate in HPD programs. So while the data is difficult to track, we have, for instance, changed the New York City Acquisition Fund recently. Historically, it could be used by any affordable housing developer that was looking to create or preserve housing as part of an acquisition project. And a couple years ago, we modified the requirements so that it doesn't just offer favorable terms, but now the program is only available, or the assistance is only available to projects that are led by MWBE developer or a nonprofit developer. There are some other examples of that I'm happy to talk about more later if it's of interest.
Thank you so much for that. So next I want to, go back and acknowledge the history of social housing as we are defining it here in the council and in this hearing today. The history of social housing in the city of New York, right? So the Bronx burning in the 1970s and 80s, and sweat equity building up buildings that suffered, then became HDFCs, then became affordable cooperatives with their own restrictions. So just sort of going through the different categories, would you be able to share at their height, be that in the 1980s or maybe in the early 90s, at their height, how many cooperative HDFCs did the city have? How many Mitchell-Lama units were there in the city of New York? And then likewise public housing units has stayed stable, thankfully. But just per category, at their height, how many units did we have versus how many we have today?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can,
Told you.
I certainly don't have the information today with me about 20, 30 years ago, what we had. I could follow up with that information. I can tell you that in New York City today, there are approximately 1,200 HDFC cooperatives with about 25,000 units. We do continue to finance new HDFC limited equity cooperatives through programs like Open Door, the Affordable Neighborhood Cooperative Program, as well as some conversions from rental to cooperative in our preservation work. Mitchell-Lama, I think it's common knowledge that there was a fair drop-off or increase in opt-outs in the early 2000s from the Mitchell-Lama program. There are still, as I mentioned earlier, 85 Mitchell-Lamas, city and state, in New York City that provide over 60,000 units of housing. And we work very hard with HDC and with the state and with with various elected officials, some of which are at the table today, Yep, thank you, Councilmember Brewer. Work very hard to do what we can to preserve affordability and viability of those properties. We have a range of programs in the city to specifically help both HDFC cooperatives and Mitchell-Lamas undertake repairs, stabilize operations, and we invest significant capital in that work every single year. We also, for HDFC co-ops, beyond financial assistance, have been working to develop a new technical assistance program that would help HDFCs that may be struggling to dig out of challenges operating their property with deeper technical assistance.
Great, thank you so much. I'm gonna start turning it over to my colleagues, and I will be back with more questions. So first, I am looking over to my left to Councilmember Brewer. Ready? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so first up, we're gonna have Councilmember Brewer ask her questions.
Okay. Thank you, HPD. I appreciate the hard work you're doing. You can always do more, but I appreciate what you're doing. On the land bank, so there are a lot of them around the country. So when you say we have it under control, we don't need a land bank, we don't need how nimble they are, we don't need to take the, et cetera. Why do you think that you cover everything that the land banks cover? Example that I would give, because I don't think what you're saying is true. Somebody gives, U.S. attorney has land, so liens, you know how land comes to the city of New York, not as often as it used to under Philip St. George and others, but it's still there. So what we want is it to go to a public process that's very transparent, that could definitely not sell it to a private developer under any circumstance unless it was a hearing, but more importantly, something that was desperately needed, deeply affordable, I don't know, a theater, a park. Why do you think that you do all of that and there's no need for a land bank? Because you know what a land bank is, they're all over the country. Why do you think you don't need it?
Yeah, so I think we absolutely, share the goal of trying to figure out how to make sure that we have strategies and tools to support acquisition of land and buildings in order to create affordable housing. As a housing agency, I think that's the thing that I can focus on best today. There may be some other uses to land bank that are worth exploring separately. With regard to housing, we're really fortunate in New York City. We have resources and programs to support acquisition by mission-based, mission-oriented developers of land and buildings. We've had these resources, including the New York City Acquisition Fund, which was created during the Great Recession, and is currently capitalized, I think, at about $150 million, supports acquisition by nonprofits and MWBEs of land and buildings for the purpose of creating affordable housing. The nice thing about the way we do business with the New York City Acquisition Fund is that a potential purchaser identifies a site. They look at it from a feasibility perspective, including whether or not they feel that given the acquisition price, they're able to deliver the outcome, right? The intended outcome of creating affordable housing or preserving that housing and investing in housing quality. And if they believe that that's possible, they then apply for financing, and they can get the bridge financing through the acquisition fund, and they come to us for a soft commitment where we review and say, yes, that aligns with our program parameters, that's something that we feel comfortable we could support. And they then know that they can finance that housing and they can deliver on it within a reasonable period of time. I think one of our concerns with the land bank proposal is that at the point of acquisition, well, there's a couple things. Let me try to break it down. One, at the point of acquisition, putting the city or the land bank as a potential city entity at the forefront of the negotiations, potential changes the equations in negotiating a reasonable acquisition price. So I think that's challenge one. Challenge two, we are concerned that I mean, many of you understand what New York City was like decades ago when we foreclosed on a lot of property.
I was here.
Yes.
Dick Heitler was here.
There are many folks that we owned a lot of property, and at the point that it came into city ownership, we didn't necessarily know or have the capacity to get it back into productive use quickly. We did a lot, right? But we still have some city property. And while the land bank, if you have an interim ownership, but you don't have a clear time to get to a certain outcome, you potentially have the risk associated with maintaining property for a period of time and having to fund that without a definite outcome. And I think, so those are some of the concerns we have.
I mean, I hope that we would talk about it further. I think
Okay.
you'll hear from Chris Norman from Atlanta, who would have, I think, a slightly different take on it. And I do think what's the advantage is people want to know what's going on. The land bank is very transparent. There's a board, you know who the board is, the members, their phone numbers, and they can get grants. Obviously, I don't know if the acquisition fund is a 501c3. I could go on, but I do think that you need something. Nobody knows what government's doing, and housing is its #1 concern. And the land bank is very nimble. With all due respect, HPD is not nimble. That's not a word that I would pull with HPD. And it's a place that would perhaps be able to take property that the HPD cannot for whatever reason. Maybe it's something that is not in your portfolio or in your agenda. So I know others have questions, but I think we should have a much longer discussion about the land bank. Look at some of the ones that are going on around the city. I don't think that some of these cities are as different as you are stating. So I hope we can have a further discussion about this topic.
Yeah, I think we would be happy. Again, I think we're interested in exploring any potential tools, especially if they fill a strategic gap, they're efficient, they're nimble, they help us get to the outcomes that I think we all share here. I think we're absolutely open to talking further.
It could be structured differently than Newburgh or Atlanta or whatever, but it would be something that could be a tool in the toolbox. And God knows you need a lot of tools in that toolbox. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brewer. And just a follow-up, in your testimony, you talked about having structures in the city of New York that do have similar functions to what land banks do in other places. What exactly did you mean by that? And are there entities that you think exist today that are similar to land banks?
Yeah, that's one of the, I think, unique things about New York is that when the city stopped, so Neighborhood Restore HDFC was created in the mid-90s, essentially, when the city stopped foreclosing and taking land directly. So it's a nonprofit entity. It has governmental oversight. LISC and Enterprise basically sit on their board. And they have created a number of affiliates over the years that basically fulfill a similar function, which is that they can hold land temporarily and basically get it through an immediate kind of transitional period in order to get back out to public use. And initially it was created to provide an alternative to interim direct foreclosure and city ownership and management. The organization has diversified over the years, and so I'll give one recent example. There was a property in Brooklyn that was subject to special enforcement. An owner really substantially misused the property, and there were tenants that were very vulnerable. It was part of special enforcement kind of litigation with the city. And as part of that, there was a question about whether or not we thought that there was affordable housing outcome that could make sense. One option would be the city take it. Well, if the city takes property, we then have to go through a complicated disposition process. We were certainly concerned about owning a property without a clear outcome and the costs associated with that and the process involved. I think one of the potential advantages to the land bank legislation as written is that there may be some speedier disposition process than we see right now where there's city-owned property, which is very, very, very challenging. That being said, we ended up transferring it to one of our, we didn't do it, but the owner agreed to transfer it to an affiliate of Neighborhood Restore. And they were able to renovate that building, and it was a small home, and basically sell it as affordable home ownership. So they can fill this niche role of basically for a period of time holding property and then helping get to that outcome. So I think it's a unique organization. It doesn't have exactly the same capacity as a land bank, the way that this legislation envisions, but it fills a very similar role in New York City, especially when paired with the very significant resources that HPD has on the capital side to help finance affordable housing.
Thank you. And this is Neighborhood Restore, correct?
And then their affiliate entities, so Neighborhood Rural Renewal, Preserving City Neighborhoods, et cetera.
Okay. They're not as powerful as what we were envisioning here with the land.
And it's not transparent, with all due respect.
It's not a
no-
government entity.
And there's no board, correct?
There is a board.
And it's a board that's all over the website, everything's on.
It's on the website, absolutely. I mean, again, if it may make sense actually to sit down and talk about some of these tools in more depth and
You could take this and turn
What-
it into a land bank. That's an idea.
what the advantages of a land bank structure could be and what the advantages are today, and think about whether there is some room there to create a more robust or
Thank you.
efficient structure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Ressler?
Great, sorry, multitasking. But I wanted to just, so firstly, thank you for your testimony, Deputy Commissioner Darga. It's always good to see you.
Nice to see you.
I really wanted to focus on timing.
Okay.
Certainly, we wouldn't want to support anything in the City Council that would slow down the production of affordable housing. But in your testimony, you indicate that you're concerned with Intro 637 that it would limit the range of available tools, particularly your ability to build and preserve as much affordable housing as quickly as we can. And so that's what I really wanted to take issue with. I don't see any reason why this would extend the HPD RFP process. Why could HPD not issue an RFP both for nonprofits and for-profit entities that all could apply for? And if there are no qualified bids from nonprofits that meet HPD's threshold, that it could go to the next for-profit entity that was on the list. Would that be viable?
So let me take a step back. So as part of our RFP process, right, we have city-owned land in HPD jurisdiction. First, we want to engage with the community to understand community interests, community needs, and then we develop an RFP that addresses some of the needs that we've heard within the community.
Right.
From that, we then score applications. And as I mentioned briefly a few minutes ago, we have committed much more through our RFP process to prioritize nonprofits and MWB applicants. We, at this point in time, if there's no MWBE or nonprofit involved in the development team and in the proposal, it is not a proposal that we will consider. So that is a requirement that we have outlined within our process. I think it's something
I think we're
else.
interested in understanding the new process and seeing the new data. We were only able to track
Okay.
data from 2014 to 2018. But in that period of time, 78% of projects went to for-profit development entities, and which were half as likely to build the extremely low-income and low-income housing that we really need. If the numbers have dramatically changed, we'd be interested in reviewing it and seeing how nonprofits are actually prioritized and are actually developing the housing that we all need. But the data that we're looking at, and this is data from the de Blasio administration, but these are policies consistent with the Bloomberg and Giuliani administrations as well. They have been absolutely failing to build the deeply affordable housing that we need. So I just want to come back to the procurement question. I don't see any reason why what I laid out wouldn't work perfectly well and legally for HPD without slowing you all down by a millisecond to execute on more deeply affordable housing getting built.
Okay, so a couple things. First, I think the information that you're quoting is definitely from a different era, right?
2018 ain't that long ago.
Okay, so I
It was
do
before you were in
know,
this job, but it's
well, I
not.
don't know nonprofit involvement in all development. I do know that for RFPs, since 2014, 71% of RFPs for public sites were designated to a team with a nonprofit.
A team with a nonprofit. That's not a majority
83
nonprofit-driven project. That could be a nonprofit that's doing 10% of the project.
Okay, so 83% of RFPs for public sites were designated to a team with an MWB and/or nonprofit. And in many cases, we actually do see partnerships between.
We welcome partnerships, but 83% saying that there was a nonprofit or MWB at the table doesn't mean that it was 83% where a nonprofit or an MWB was driving the development, or where the development is actually being envisioned by what the community really needs and deeply affordable, and realizing
So
the
let
deeply
me,
affordable housing.
right, so I know you had a number of points there, so let me try to address each of those issues. All of our projects that we finance, so again, everything that we do on public land goes through a disposition process. So the affordability ultimately needs to be approved by various folks within that public disposition process. The projects that we finance today have to conform to the programs that we have today. So I can't really speak to the affordability for something that was done during the Bloomberg era, right? What I am dealing with now are the questions about what we finance now, and those projects have to comply with the programs that we have now. Those programs focus on providing housing for extremely low and low-income households, senior households, to provide supportive housing for households. Every project that we finance has a significant requirement to provide housing for formerly homeless households. So regardless of who responds, those outcomes are achieved through the projects that we finance.
I hear you, Deputy Commissioner, and again, I'm looking at data from 2014 to 2018, so the first term plus into the second term of the de Blasio administration. But in our analysis, we found that the for-profit developers who got public land were only developing 18% of the units for extremely low-income individuals. I realize term sheets have changed. I realize improvements have been made. We appreciate that by the previous administration and that have not yet been updated or modified by this one. That is welcomed, but it's still not good enough. And I haven't heard you mention on the procurement front yet, which makes me think that you think I'm right, but you don't want to say that. So, but you can. I don't want to get ahead of Chair Sanchez because I realize my time is up. But we are focused on maximizing affordable housing as quickly as possible. I believe what I laid out is an efficient and effective way to do that that wouldn't slow you down by 1 millisecond.
So again, we do prioritize nonprofit and MWE respondents at this point in time. We have since early 2019. We also have, within the scoring process, a preference for community kind of presence. So we do that. I think it is they're different. To do it programmatically and to legislate it are different things. And so I do want to be clear that there are different organizations that bring value to the table, that partnerships are the development teams that respond are choosing to partner oftentimes with the various organizations that can bring different skills and knowledge and capacity to the table. The vast majority of the teams that are selected today are involving WBEs and nonprofits. Beyond that, we provide strategic support for nonprofits and WBEs and MWBEs. And we do believe it's important to prioritize not just nonprofits, but MWBE developers, where we know that there has been a disparity study that showed that those businesses have not been able to compete because of discrimination. And so we do that in a variety of ways, not just as part of the RFP process, but we do it through the financial tools and assistance and programs that we set up to assist those organizations in the work to create and preserve affordable housing.
I just want to give a tale of two projects in my district. HPD is supporting the redevelopment in the Broadway Triangle, nonprofit partners, Los Sures, Ridgewood Bushwick Senior Citizens Council, UJO, St. Nick's, 400 units of housing being built, 100% affordable housing, all at terrific AMIs. This is going to be a diverse development for Hasidim, for African Americans, for Latinos, for everybody in our community. It is a joyous thing. Nonprofit developers leading the way. Publicly owned site on the waterfront in Bushwick Inlet Park, led by Gotham, with Ridgewood Bushwick again as a nonprofit partner. 75% of the housing is luxury market rate housing on a publicly owned site. It's abysmal. It's disgraceful. It should not ever happen. And that's the difference. So yes, you can have the nonprofit partner who's brought along for the ride, but if it's not a nonprofit-led development, we're not getting the deeply affordable housing that we really need. I'm open to having a conversation about MWEs and how do we do a better job of supporting them and including them and continue the progress that HPD has been making and bring them in on development projects. That's a worthy thing. But I take real issue with the distinction between nonprofit-driven developments that are actually meeting the needs of working-class people in our communities and for-profit developers that are focused on making money and not delivering at the AMIs that we really need, and that the market is never going to deliver. So that's where we have a major difference here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ressler. And I want to thank you for that last note, Councilmember Ressler, especially on the point about minority and women-owned business enterprises. I for one, want to see this prioritization continue, and I know we've talked about it, Councilmember, and I think it's important to when we talk about wealth creation and addressing inequities of the past, it's on both sides, right? It's on the side of stably housing New Yorkers, building homeownership opportunities, whether those are cooperative or more individual from my perspective, but also on the construction front, right? And so for me, MWBEs, they play a dual role, right? MWBEs who are prioritizing the development and construction of are mission driven, right? I think that helps us check two boxes, that helps us to continue to build wealth among historically excluded individuals and communities and families, as well as continue the mission of building more what we're calling social housing here today. So thank you, Councilmember Ressler, for your openness to continue this conversation, because I think it's an important part here. And a quick follow-up, HPD, and then I'll turn it over to Councilmember Nurse. But a quick follow-up. So you've talked about HPD prioritizing mission-driven nonprofit developers and MWBEs. Can you speak to your sister agencies, Economic Development Corporation, as well as NYCHA and other entities, DOT, anybody who's disposing of public land, do they have the same requirements or the same priorities that HPD has expressed today?
Thank you for that question. It is a citywide commitment that is echoed in a number of our blueprints, a number of our public reports and commitments to invest in MWBEs and grow our collective involvement. We can't speak to the work of our other agencies, but we'd be happy to follow up on more detailed discussions after.
Thank you so much for that. Councilmember Nurse?
Thank you, Chair. I have 3, maybe 4 questions. I'll try to be brief. So the first couple questions I have around our bill with the Social Housing Development Agency. In March 2021, HPD issued a request for information about shared equity models, including social housing, to help shape potential models and standards of effectuating shared equity models in New York City. HPD's website lists 44 organizations that submitted responses. The RFI indicated that the city anticipates releasing a subsequent request for expressions of interest or request for proposal for shared equity projects incorporating information gathered from this. Can you tell us the status of this work and what's the plan and timeline for issuing RFEIs or RFPs based on the input you received?
Thank you for that question. We did engage in that work under the released request for expressions of interest. Sorry, it's an RF alphabet soup. We got a really robust response. We had, I think, more than 40 responses, which we were impressed by, and we got to have follow-up conversations with a number of the organizations and academics, et cetera, who had submitted proposals. And those conversations led to the need for further follow-up and further discussions on all of that work. Our goal is really to be, as we've talked about today, we've testified today, to continue innovating in this space and for that work to be really permeating all of what we do. So we have taken that advice very seriously. We're thinking it in the context of how we do our CLT work, how we do our home ownership work, and we're continuing to work on that.
So do you have a timeline?
We don't have a timeline necessarily for releasing an RFEI or an RFP. We're considering what the best way to incorporate this work into our current work is. And we'd welcome further discussions with you about that.
Okay.
Just a brief addition to that. So we have a number of RFPs where CLT specifically have responded. We recently designated a CLT to look at development proposal for a large set of properties in Brooklyn. So that work is, even as Lucy said, as we're trying to figure out the strategy, there is work that is ongoing at the same time. We also have about 1,200 units in the pipeline with CLTs at this point in time. There is a major limitation that we have in financing CLTs that is, I think, worth noting today, which is that HPD relies on our loan authorities through the state to provide financial assistance, and we have a number of constraints. One of the big constraints is that we can't actually fund properties on ground leases on private property almost across the board. And CLTs, which rely on a ground lease structure, therefore are not really eligible for financing on private sites.
Are
So
you advocating on?
we are, yeah. So it's
right
part of
relevant
our
agencies? Okay.
state agenda to support changes to our loan authorities to address a whole range of issues. One of the ones is to make it possible to lend on a ground lease. There are some other things that I think are relevant to this topic that are important to note too, which is that we have limitations in supporting homeowners and down payment assistance. So there's a range of things that we're trying to address within the loan authorities that I think will make a fundamental difference.
Thank you.
And that
Thank you for
legislation is
expanding in
Affordability
that.
Plus.
Oh yes, Affordability Plus.
Okay. My second question, HPD testified that your agency does many of the things a social housing development agency would do. However, HPD admittedly focuses more on housing and affordable housing in general, which is a very broad term, and does not touch on issues like democratic ownership or decommodification. I think it's also fair to say that the delays in HPD hinder social housing development. So why specifically do you think a separate social housing development agency, which would be solely focused on social housing, would duplicate efforts?
Thank you for that question. We have talked about the ways in which both HPD shares and our work shares a lot of these principles, and also the ways that we've been innovating over time. There have been a number of questions that have gotten at that, the ways that the housing market has changed, the way that HPD has adapted. There have also been some jabs at our nimbleness, and what we would say is that having a separate agency doesn't necessarily make us more nimble. We do feel like the important nexus between building and preserving affordable housing and the expertise that we've developed and these principles that we heard talking about today are really important to be housed within one agency, and separating them won't make it easier for us to do all of that. It actually will get in the way of it.
Chair, do you mind? Okay. And then just one other, sorry, one second. Okay, so just in terms of COPA and the land bank, in a January 19, 2021 testimony on COPA and the land bank, much of which has been echoed here today, HPD representatives testified that there is a concern that any COPA measure that slows down the sales process may distort the market and advantage ownership by entities most able to hold property for longer periods of time, but that we would be interested in working together to properly define the universe of buildings for which COPA would be most productive and effective. Are the above concerns actually playing out in cities that have similar programs and housing markets, such as San Francisco, which has a COPA, or Washington, D.C., which has a TOPA?
Thank you for that question. We have talked extensively and looked into what is going on in other cities, and what we would say is, in fact, that the breadth of the current legislation does, we feel, risk undermining its goals. We're talking about potentially thousands of transactions per year, which it would be infeasible for a group of preservation buyers to review and consider meaningfully, and that is what we feel, what we've seen is playing out in other cities.
Thank you. I think that's it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nurse. So I want to turn to your critique of Intro 196 COPA within your testimony. You said, we will continue to innovate and invest in new models, but it can't come at the expense of the tools we need to make more low-cost and affordable housing available to New Yorkers. So what COPA proposes is to make a list of qualified entities eligible for first refusal, right, to develop public land. And in the bill, there's a lot of discretion left to the agency to decide this based on rulemaking, but there are 4 characteristics that are included, right? So the organization is a nonprofit, or the organization has demonstrated a commitment to the provision of permanently affordable housing for extremely low, very low, and low income city residents, and preventing displacement. Third, the organization has demonstrated a commitment to community representation, engagement, and accountability. And fourth, the organization has demonstrated the capacity, including but not limited to the legal and financial capacity, to effectively acquire and manage residential real property at multiple locations in the city. And so this is written broadly, and there's a lot of space to further clarify. Also, during the negotiation, we can also edit the bill further. So can you please help me to understand why COPA, from your perspective, would come at the expense of the tools that we need to make more low-cost, affordable housing available to New Yorkers?
Thank you for that question and for highlighting some of the values that we've been in front of you talking about in various contexts that we think are hallmarks of some of our most important programs. We are, as you know, very focused on achieving long-term and permanent affordability, community involvement, all of these values. As you mentioned, the current bill is quite broad. To the extent that we have smaller owners, mom and pops, as you will, people that don't have the ability to, if they need to sell quickly for some reason, if they are impacted by this, they are at risk. Those people who have invested, there are people that we talk about a lot, being concerned about their ability to continue to invest in their buildings, to maintain safe, high-quality buildings. And what we have found, what we all know, is that when those owners don't have the resources that they need, such as if they are limited from their ability to move quickly in the market, that ultimately those buildings can suffer, and it's the tenants that suffer. So whenever we talk about innovating in this area, we are committed to innovating in this area. When we do it, we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that preserves a number of these values that we're talking about and doesn't inadvertently harm in particular, the tenants that we're talking about that we want to serve.
Thank you, and I don't see a conflict there. I mean, I think that the bill can be worked on to create exclusions or create exceptions in very particular circumstances, like the small owners that you mentioned. So I look forward to continuing that discussion. So a couple of more questions related to Intro 196. So focusing in on community land trust, I'm always glad to hear that we share goals and that we share values, but we need to make sure that we're putting our money where our mouth is, right? And so on that front, talking about community land trusts and respecting the increased support that community land trusts have received in recent years, where are we at now? So what is the amount of capital subsidy that HPD has earmarked for CLT developments?
So our budget doesn't work exactly that way, right? We don't earmark funds for particular organizations or projects. We have a capital budget this year that's just over $1.4 billion to support the creation and preservation of affordable housing. And that money is deployed through HPD programs. The programs are available on our website, so we're fully transparent about how that money can be used. And nonprofits, for-profits, CLTs, which are nonprofit entities, can apply through those programs to access the funding. And so that's how it starts. Basically, somebody reaches out, says, I have a project, I have a proposal, I'm looking to acquire a site, and I'd like to access financial support for that project, and then we evaluate the project and move forward. I would note, as I said earlier, that there are most of our work today is on private sites. There is substantial limitation in CLTs being able to access funds, not because of limitations that the city has imposed, but because of our state loan authority. So until that's fixed, there will be challenges in CLT specifically being able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, understand that and wanna see a version of Affordability Plus pass. But of that 1.4 billion capital budget, how much went to CLTs? Or how much, looking back at the last available year?
So we don't earmark it that way. There are certain projects in the pipeline where there are CLTs involved. Those projects haven't closed on funding yet, so I can't say exactly how much funding will be allocated to those projects.
Is it zero for right now to say that looking backward, no capital funding has been
No,
allocated?
we have financed some CLTs already. As I said, it's limited largely to public sites. Hang on just one second. Let me see if I have that information with me today. Hang on. I think I'm gonna have to get back to you, or give me a minute and I can see if I can find it here. I think it was 380 million, but I will have to double check that.
You said 180 million?
380 million, but I need to double check it.
And for what time period?
What?
What time period?
For the projects that have closed so far, which have closed over the last couple of years.
Okay. So we can follow up just to get
Yeah,
an
I can
exact
verify that.
year and number. Okay, great. Okay, vacant parcels in the city of New York. Can you break this down for us? How many vacant properties, and this is, data that the city should have available coming out of the Housing Not Warehousing Act that passed several years ago and that advocates have been fighting for this transparency. So how many vacant properties are currently owned by the city of New York?
So I can't speak to all of the city of New York. I can speak to HPD's portion of that. So as of November 22, we had, there were 810 vacant tax lots left within HPD jurisdiction. 2/3 of those lots have already been RFP'd or had the development team designated through an RFP or competitive process. There were about 15% of those sites, so a large amount of the remaining sites are either not suitable for residential development, are not buildable, or have other substantial site constraints that need to be worked through. And that leaves about 15% of the total that are yet to be programmed. I would note that these are tax lots. They're not like developable sites necessarily in and of itself. Oftentimes we need to assemble many, many tax lots in order to get to one developable project. And fortunately, a few years ago, we didn't really have programs that allowed us to finance those types of scattered site assemblages. Fortunately, we have some better tools today that can help us do that. And we do hope to be able to move some of these site assemblages forward within this year through RFPs.
Okay, thank you for that. So 810 vacant tax lots controlled by HPD, 2/3 RFP'd. So where are these parcels? Can you give us a breakdown by borough?
I have some basic information. So I think,
and I'm sorry, just to corollary there, are there particular neighborhoods in the city where there are more of these vacant properties?
yeah, my understanding is the vast majority of the lots are in parts of Harlem, Central Brooklyn, and the South Bronx, and to a lesser degree in the Rockaways.
Okay, thank you. And shouting out members of the administration who are behind you, just want to make sure that we do get that citywide number, please, because there's DCAS, there's EDC, there's all of the other agencies, and this is legislation that the City Council passed. So if you can get that to us before the end of the hearing, that would be great. So HPD, focusing on you, for these 810 parcels, could you tell us what is the average amount of time that these properties have been vacant?
So I don't have the exact tenure in city ownership, but as I think many folks know, the city stopped directly foreclosing on property decades ago. So many of these sites have been in city ownership at this point in time for decades.
Okay. Okay. And then for the properties that are within HPD's jurisdiction, are they vacant in the sense that they don't have structures on them? They're completely vacant, or do they have structures?
Yeah, vacant is, there's no structure on it.
Okay. Great. So in the mayor's Housing Our Neighbors blueprint, it was highlighted that the administration will identify government-owned properties that could be developed into housing opportunities for ELI and VLI households. Can you tell us about how this is going? Is this the 810 and 2/3 and all of that? What are the current plans for these properties?
Yeah, so with regard to HPD sites, absolutely. That work is ongoing. As I said, we have a small percentage of the 810 that have not yet been programmed, and the intent would be to assemble those into financeable sets of properties that would be developed through one of HPD's affordable housing programs. There is other work that is ongoing, so we have started to work across the administration with other agencies to inventory potential public sites, and that could be used potentially for affordable housing development as well. That work has just really started. And in the meantime, we're also, as I mentioned, focused on trying to get some of the RFPs out for the remaining sites in our jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. Going back to COPA, one question I forgot to ask. So HPD's role in private transactions is quite limited, right, when there is not financing opportunities. So assuming positively that we are going to get to a good spot in negotiating the details of a policy like COPA, how would HPD insert itself and have a helping hand, rather, to organizations that would be eligible for first priority in the purchase?
So I think maybe it would be worth talking about how we support acquisition today. I don't know how familiar folks are with that work. So in addition to New York City Acquisition Fund, which I mentioned a little while ago, which is basically a fund the city helped create along with LISC and Enterprise to support acquisition financing specifically. We also provide construction and permanent financing. So that's the financing that ultimately helps renovate or build the housing and ensures that it is affordable housing long term. We launched a few years ago our Neighborhood Pillars program, which was specifically designed to help mission-based organizations, preservation buyers, which included both for-profits and nonprofits, to acquire existing buildings for the purpose of taking buildings that were vulnerable to potential loss of affordability and keep them affordable long-term. That program has had to be retooled. There's a lot that's changed in the market in New York City the last couple of years, but the way it works is essentially we have a RFQ that we did to pre-qualify entities to participate in the program. That RFQ designated entities based on experience in owning and managing affordable housing projects, including specific work they have done in acquiring sites, work with residents, undertaking construction projects, et cetera. From that, the nonprofits that were qualified had extra access to additional resources through our Neighborhood Pillars down payment assistance program. That program provides technical assistance for those pre-qualified entities in negotiating an acquisition price, reviewing the contract, and also provided funding to help enter into contract. So in order to enter contract, you need cash, right? So it basically provided access to funding at that moment. The next step in the process is that once you have contract, you then have to close on the acquisition itself. So we worked with the New York City Acquisition Fund to create a streamlined process where those pre-qualified entities were pre-vetted from an organizational perspective so that they could quickly close on acquisition funding. That time, because a lot of contracts, there's a time period which you have to close, right? So that resource was lined up, and then we also made sure that we had the back end support to provide the construction and permanent financing on the city end, and that's both funding for renovations or construction, as well as it may be a tax exemption or other assistance in order to ensure that those projects provided the intended affordable housing.
Got it.
So I think one of the challenges in a program that is legislative is that in order to achieve the intended outcomes, many of those potential acquisitions may require public support.
Right, and that's really where I was getting at. So in cases where there is no public support involved and there's not quite the same role for HPD to play and quite, there's not that same need that the private entity might have for HPD's help, what would HPD's role or what are the ways that HPD could insert into the process?
I mean, my sense is that if a program like this existed, the parties that are acquiring property for the purpose of affordable housing are likely going to apply to HPD for funding. And so whether or not those acquisitions are feasible is largely going to be related to resource availability.
And as we've discussed today, and as you said, this legislation is really quite broad. And what that means is that it's not necessarily aligned with the other goals that we've talked about here today.
Moving to TOPA, and then I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Nurse. What is the administration's position on the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, and particularly recognizing that TOPA has been successful in other jurisdictions, has had some degree of success in other jurisdictions, including Washington, D.C. for the last decade or so. I think it could be a great model to come here. Obviously, the state legislators also do because they have the bill, but I didn't hear a position from the administration.
We support expanding homeownership opportunities for low and moderate income New Yorkers. We've been in discussions with you here testifying about that in the past. In our experience, tenant acquisitions are most successful when tenants can work with an experienced partner for support and technical assistance. We look forward to these discussions with the state partners.
Right. Would HPD be requesting financial support accompany the TOPA legislation so that tenants can better organize?
So we're here today testifying on a package of city legislation. We don't have a position on that. We look forward to working with all of the partners involved, including our state partners on the legislation.
Okay, our position should always be to ask for more money from Albany. Okay, thank you so much for that. Councilmember Nurse?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to circle back to delays. The New York Housing Conference states that HPD's staffing shortages, especially among project managers, are slowing affordable housing production, making the production more costly to the city and the developers as they pay real estate taxes and interest on loans waiting for deals to close. These delays are delaying projects by months and even potentially years sometimes. What is the average timeline for closing on developments now, and how does HPD weigh these internal delays against hypothetical delays of a land bank or a COPA program entering into the market?
Okay, that's a big question. Let me try to break that down. There absolutely is an impact of resources, and that could be capital funds, tax exemptions, the staffing within city agencies in supporting these projects. There's no doubt. And different types of projects take different levels of resource commitment. There are some programs that we administer that are far less resource intensive. They're more as of right. It's pretty cut and dry. We get an application, we are able to process it. There are other programs that we administer that have layers and layers of financing with different parties and different entities and can be very complicated to put together. And so those are harder when you are strapped from a resource perspective, whether that's staffing or otherwise. And part two of your question, sorry, I'm losing the train. Go ahead. Remind me what was part two.
How are you balancing the internal delays you all are facing, or the challenges that are creating delays with hypothetical delays that would result from a land bank or a COPA program?
Yeah, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I really think that, so a land bank, if you don't have clear path to the outcome, acquiring property just potentially puts that property in limbo. So anything that is highly resource dependent, right, means that if you don't know in 3 years that you can deliver on that ultimate outcome, then you're in limbo. That property, if it's an occupied building, who's taking care of the residents? Who makes sure that it has insurance? Who makes sure that maintenance is done appropriately? The longer that takes, the harder those problems become, right? I think that's what we have learned from taking property into city ownership, right, at a scale where we couldn't necessarily get everything back into public use quickly. I think the same can be said of COPA. If it's resource dependent, even if it's just a legislative strategy, right, if the outcome is heavily resource dependent, you're not necessarily going to get to the intended outcomes. So I do think that in crafting, whether it's a land bank strategy, COPA, or other acquisition strategies, that we have to be thoughtful about making sure that ultimately we are setting things up to have the best chance of achieving the intended outcomes at a scale that we can manage.
I'd also like to speak to the staffing challenges.
Yeah.
Yes, we have been here before talking about challenges that not just HPD is facing, that other agencies, and this is sort of part of a broader phenomenon as well. This is something we take incredibly seriously. Kim and I are here because of the work of really hardworking staff members, one of whom is sitting behind us, and a lot of whom are watching over the live stream. And undeniably, that work is harder when we don't have full staff. We are working very hard to address that challenge. We are not settling for the fact that for the current circumstances. We are incredibly committed to this work. And a lot of people here have talked about the urgency of our mission. We feel this very deeply. We are very committed to rectifying our staffing issues so that we can get back to the really important, and as we said, urgent work.
But even at full capacity and without these staffing issues, your concerns were, again, hypothetical. So if you were fully staffed up and ready to rock out on all these projects that are backlogged, how are you hypothetically concerned that the land bank and the COPA would cause even more delays? And then I'll add, for the second part of my question was, I think earlier someone mentioned distortions in the market, or maybe I don't know if I heard that here, I can't remember. Can you talk a little bit about how you foresee distortions in the market?
Do you want to start? These are very complex topics.
Yeah.
I guess time.
I guess what we're saying is that we don't see these as entirely hypothetical. We have substantial experience in these areas. We think it's incredibly important for us to be innovating. We are really committed to that, and we've been doing it, and we've been here talking about some of the ways that our new programs, changes to our programs, are putting us on that path. And we have to be doing all of it. There is an urgency to the situation that tenants are in right now. We want to make sure that we are using all of the tools, and I think that was a phrase that's now been used 4 or 5 times in this hearing, all of the tools that are at our disposal to move forward, but we have to do that in a way that respects and makes sure that there are New Yorkers right now who, as you all have talked about, we've talked about it at other hearings, who are experiencing housing instability. So we approach each of these decisions, each of these new innovations really thoughtfully. We look forward to further conversations with you about those because we want to continue to use new programs, new tools, and we want to do it in a way that ensures that we're still able to continue to work as quickly as we can towards our underlying mission.
And the distortions piece?
So again, I think in the land bank, they're different, right? How they would be used, how they would work within the market clearly are different. So in the case of the land bank, you're essentially setting up a new public entity that you're putting forward as the face of negotiation. That in and of itself creates a perceived or real commitment of public resources that I think changes the negotiation. We've seen that in some cases. Be happy to talk about instances where the city has been more front and center in the complicated aspect of those negotiations. So I think that is issue one. I think the other thing is that when you're talking about a land bank, again, you know, if you acquire, you're like, okay, this site might be a good affordable housing project. We don't know what it is today. We don't have a developer that's interested. We haven't looked at financial feasibility, but we'd like to make it happen. Okay, so you acquire the site. You don't have a developer, you don't have the financing, you don't know if it works. In the meantime, you have to own it and you have to manage it. So there's a cost associated with that. And we spend a lot of money still, right, on just owning city-owned land. And so I don't take that decision lightly. I think if you're going to set something up like that where you're acquiring property, you want to know that you can get to that ultimate use, because otherwise it continues to do the thing that we don't want, which is that it remains fallow or remains vacant, it remains underutilized, tenants aren't protected, et cetera. So I think those are the particular concerns that we have with that structure. Not that there aren't some potentially useful components to it, that are worth discussing further, but I think we're worried about the unintended consequences and the costs associated with setting up a new structure.
Right, but that's the cost associated, public money that would be associated with that. That's not necessarily, I feel like I didn't hear how this would distort the market.
Again, putting the city at the center of negotiations would distort the market.
Okay. My last question, and sorry, Chair. On February 15th, the mayor was in Albany and testified that he had concerns about good cause eviction, fearing that it could displace some of the small property owners. As far as I know, other states with similar laws to good cause, such as New Jersey, have not seen a spike in homeowners filing for foreclosure due to good cause. Given the apparent lack of evidence for this claim, is it the opinion of HPD or any other agencies here that good cause eviction would cause a spike in homeowner displacement, especially considering the bill explicitly exempts owner-occupied homes with fewer than 4 units? Do you support good cause eviction as a strong tool to protect tenants? And if so, how will you push for this?
Thank you for that question. As you referenced, the mayor did talk about the importance of tenant protections and our support for them, wanting to do it in a way that ensures the viability of small building owners. You referenced other states. What I'll say about that is that we've seen different good cause models proposed in different states, and so that's an important thing for, I guess, everyone involved in the negotiations to consider as we move forward. So we're looking forward to continue discussions with our state partners on this legislation.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Nurse. I look forward to getting the administration to support good cause as well. So, speaking of my constituents, constituents across the city who are feeling the pain the most, can you speak to how HPD or the administration, how do you serve a household that is at 10% of AMI or 15% of AMI?
Thank you for that question. We too share a lot of the concerns that we've talked about in terms of making sure that we can best serve the lowest income New Yorkers. We've talked about in multiple hearings in our testimony that while many New Yorkers are struggling and have struggled in particular over the last couple of years, and that a low vacancy rate and high rents have been an issue for decades. In particular, the crunch at the lowest rent part of our market, under 1,500 units, is less than 1%. That means that New Yorkers who can only afford some of our lowest cost units are not going to find those available on any given day and not have somewhere to move. So this is something that we do strongly need to consider. One of our most significant tools is our voucher program, and we have used our range of voucher tools to help New Yorkers at some of the lowest incomes move around the city. That's a really important fair housing goal, obligation for us, and policy priority, and as well as move into our housing.
Great. Do you think that the city is doing enough to support these extremely low-income New Yorkers?
We testified in our, we said in our testimony today, we are committed to doing more, right? There is always, this work has been decades long for HPD, for the city. We have been in urgent need of more housing, more rental housing, more low-cost housing for a very long time. That need continues. We are committed to doing, to continuing to innovate and continuing to try to bring as much housing online as we can quickly as possible, because we know and we appreciate that there are New Yorkers across the city who desperately need that.
Thank you. And there are 600,000 lowest income New Yorkers that are rent burdened, and they are significantly more severely rent burdened than anyone else, right? So they are paying 50, 60, 70% of their income in rent. And that burden, that level of burden, continues across the income scales. We have very low-income New Yorkers, moderate-income New Yorkers who are rent-burdened as well, but the pain is not the same. And what I beseech upon the administration, on HPD, on all of you is to help me not have to continue to go back to my community and say, yeah, they're trying really hard, but there's nothing for you, right? It is so painful to look at someone's face who is a month away from eviction, who has been in a shelter for 2 years, and just not have an answer for them. And so as we continue these initiatives, as we dedicate capital, we have to focus on the lowest income. And I will not stop saying that. I know that I have civil servants who agree with me, but we need to make that the policy reality of the city of New York. So with that, my final question here, and I'm looking at colleagues, I think I'm okay, but my final question is about the rent burden for the lowest income New Yorkers. Is the administration in support of the Housing Access Voucher Program resolution that the City Council is hearing today?
Thank you for that question and for your continued partnership. We recognize that the council plays a really important role in this work, and we are committed to continuing to working together to serve the New Yorkers, all New Yorkers, and the New Yorkers in particular who are experiencing significant housing instability. We welcome, as we've all talked about, and so now I feel like I'm saying tools again, but we welcome all of the resources and all the tools, and it's going to take all of that to address the vast amount of need. We do believe that to the extent that we add vouchers to our stock, that we're mindful of some of the challenges that we face. We have used a mix of carrots and sticks to make sure that we can lease up vouchers in our housing market. That includes a advertising campaign of $1 million to try to change hearts and minds. Also, investment in source of income discrimination. More resources for vouchers won't do us very much if we can't actually find those people homes. We also need to continue to build more housing, especially rental housing and low cost and affordable rental housing, for that exact same purpose. And finally, we want to make sure that when we invest more in programs like vouchers that we're able to, or rental assistance programs, we're able to administer them and they align, they have the, for lack of a better term, the sort of the bells and whistles, or like the components of strong voucher programs and our other voucher programs, so that it's easier and I guess just impossible for us to administer them.
Okay, thank you. I will close on this note, and it is that looking back at the data, and I'll share this out today, later today via social, but looking at the data of housing production for Michelamas, for HDFCs, co-ops in the city of New York, there were hundreds being built every year in the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, and we've just completely moved away from that approach of providing housing that is limiting equity, that is affordable in perpetuity, and that is limiting equity but is building equity for New Yorkers. So can we have a commitment from HPD today to refocus on cooperative ownership models that are like Michelama, that are like cooperative HDFCs, with the supports that HPD mentioned earlier are necessary and important to support homeowners, but can we get that commitment that we're going to be working toward expanding these ownership models in the city of New York?
We are absolutely committed to expanding homeownership opportunity and preserving them, quite honestly. And that's everything from HDFC cooperatives and Michelamas to working with single-family homeowners to make sure that they can stay in their homes. So I think we look forward to having that conversation with you.
Wonderful. I will be following up during the budget hearings. With that, thank you so much to HPD for your testimony, for taking our questions today. I'm very excited to be joined by many advocates who've been leading in this space and who we'll hear from today. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So next up, we will be hearing from my partner in the not crime, in the amazing effort to really change the paradigm and build more social housing, support more social housing in the city of New York, Controller Brad Lander, who has been leading on this topic for a very long time and is catching up with HPD at this moment.
Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez, Councilmember Brewer, Councilmember Nurse. It's wonderful to be here with you for this really important hearing. And thank you also to all of the advocates who we joined earlier on the steps, and it's great to see you here as well. I know it's a long day, so thank you. As we all know, there is a very broad agreement that New York City is facing a severe housing crisis and that we need many strategies to address it, dramatically scaling up the footprint of social housing, permanently affordable housing removed from the speculative marketplace is one critical strategy, and the bills on today's docket would go a long way to advance it. You know the crisis and have heard it, so I'm going to skip over those parts of my testimony, but $3,500 for the average available for rent unit, despite the fact that nearly 30% of New Yorkers spend over half their income on rent, homelessness at over 70,000 people, 20,000 of them kids. We read recently of an exodus of Black New Yorkers, nearly a 10% decline in the last 10 years, especially young people, born and bred New Yorkers who can't afford to stay in their hometown and don't see a pathway to housing stability or affordable home ownership. And it reflects a real threat to New York City's economy as well. When I talk to business leaders, the lack of housing affordability is a key challenge. So I'm encouraged that Albany is focusing on issues of housing this year. It is obviously critical. Tenants' rights advocates are prioritizing good cause eviction legislation. I strongly support this legislation. There's broad support for the establishment of the Housing Access Voucher Program. I strongly support HAVP as well. And I also support the push for increased housing supply, which Governor Hochul and Mayor Adams and others are pushing. We need additional housing at a wide range of incomes, and we've got to remove barriers to residential development through a framework of fair and comprehensive planning. But let's be clear, new market rate development, even if equitably distributed, and even with tenant protections and some additional housing vouchers in place, will not alone solve the affordability crisis. The top 7 neighborhoods for New Yorkers facing eviction are in the Bronx, and 8 of the top 10. That's because of housing precarity and lack of income. New development isn't going to help those tenants, and it's not in the near term going to help those 70,000 New Yorkers get out of homeless shelters. There's an important debate about whether and how market rate development filters through the market, but at best, it takes a very long time. And with median asking rents at $3,500 a month and a less than 1% vacancy rate for units below $1,500, new supply will do little for working families who need it most. In addition, the lack of social housing and a genuine commitment to it makes it harder for the average working class New Yorker to support new development, something that we genuinely need. How can we ask working class families to support new market rate development if they reasonably fear that it'll push them out of their neighborhoods, or if they simply see no way that they could gain real housing stability or build any equity in their homes? And that is where social housing comes in. Social housing, as you know, is permanently affordable housing removed from the speculative marketplace with mechanisms for democratic governance, including shared equity co-ops, not-for-profit rentals, supportive housing, public housing, and community land trusts. Let's be clear, New York has a great history of social housing. In Mitchell-Lama and other limited equity co-ops, from Co-op City in the Bronx to Penn South in Manhattan, developed in partnership with labor unions, so working class families in earlier generations could become homeowners. And in nonprofit community development corporations born in the 60s and 70s as their neighborhoods were facing abandonment, from Los Suris on the south side to Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement. In those cases, the private housing market, seeking the places where investors and developers could achieve the maximum profit, was failing to provide the type of affordable housing that New Yorkers needed. So social housing groups stepped up and developed and operated housing as a public good. When I was a young person in the affordable housing development movement, the city had a different approach here. In the Koch and Dingens administration, about a third of land or vacant city buildings or subsidies went to for-profit private developers with a focus on making room for MWBE developers and small businesses, about a third to nonprofit affordable and supportive housing developers, and about a third to the tenants themselves to become limited equity cooperators. Unfortunately, in the Giuliani, Bloomberg, and de Blasio years, the pendulum swung overwhelmingly in the direction of for-profit private developers, who now receive about 80% of the city's land, affordable housing, land and affordable housing subsidy dollars. And unfortunately, nothing we heard today from my friends at HPD and the administration suggests that there is an intent in this administration to make change there. And ambitious change is needed, and that's why these bills are good. We need social housing today more than ever. In a highly polarized service economy, New York has a more severe affordability crisis than ever. While supply and demand mechanisms can work well in markets where goods and services are distributed more evenly, they often fail to meet the needs of lower income and working class people when markets are severely stratified and when supply is inelastic, exactly like the New York City housing market of 2023. What social housing can do is establish a robust public option at a price point affordable to poor and working class families. A social housing program complements initiatives that increase private market supply. Just like in higher education or in healthcare, public options complement what the market provides, and that two-track approach offers the best opportunity forward. With an ambitious strategy, I believe that we could double the footprint of social housing in New York City in the coming years, from about 10% of the housing market today to about 20%. And the legislation that you're considering would set the groundwork for it. Let's be clear, that still leaves a lot of room for private developers. 80% of the market in that scenario would still be owned by for-profit private developers. And because we're looking to increase supply and density, it can still be growing even as the percent of social housing increases. Briefly on the legislation, because you've heard it, but I want to address a couple of the issues that the administration raised. So starting with the land bank, Intro 714, here I would really just like to give the example of what happened with hotels during the pandemic. In other cities, that had a stronger set of tools, that didn't rely on end-to-end financing of a deal before you could get started, some of the vacant hotels at the pandemic were acquired and can now be turned into affordable and supportive housing. But we didn't have a land bank tool that the city might have used. And yes, those negotiations can be challenging. The city has to figure out what it's willing to pay. But I believe that had we had a land bank at that moment, it would have been possible for the city to set some terms and say, here's what we're willing to pay, here's the terms and conditions, make the acquisition at the moment when it was possible. And then, yes, absolutely, it takes working with affordable housing developers and subsidies to make those conversions over time. But I believe we'd have more supportive housing in the pipeline if we had had a land bank, if it had been available to make some acquisitions of hotels, and during the pandemic, and we don't know what the next thing like that will be. That's sort of the whole purpose. Yes, when you design an end-to-end program and you enable developers, for-profit and not-for-profit, to use it, that works great. But conditions arise that you haven't prepared for, and if you have a land bank available, you can achieve acquisitions you wouldn't be able to achieve. On Intro 637, the idea that city-owned land, a scarce and precious resource, when it is disposed for affordable housing, should go to either shared or limited equity cooperatives, land trusts, nonprofit affordable and supportive housing. Most of our affordable housing these days is not produced on city-owned land. It's produced through subsidies and tax breaks, and a wide range of developers go out and compete for it, and that should continue. I have met with MWBE developers about this bill, and they're right that for years they haven't had the same access that white developers have had, and we should make sure that there is robust room for Black and Latino-owned developers to succeed here. But if we've only got this small city-owned land that could be a precious resource for creating the next generation of Mitchell Lamas or for the deeply supportive and affordable housing for homeless families, we need to use it for that purpose. There's still room here if we're going to do a new generation of Mitchell Lamas. Developers and builders are going to build it. There's room for MWBE builders in that program, but public land for public good just makes good plain common sense. And on COPA, Intro 196, I have to say that giving a little additional time so that tenants themselves or the community could put a purchase together, it really is about the lowest bar that you could have for encouraging social housing. It's not a restriction like the public land bill. It simply says, we think this is valuable, and we're going to provide a little extra time for folks to make that acquisition. So I was disappointed to hear the administration not support it, because I just don't think it's consistent with saying we think it's critical to grow this removed from the speculative marketplace social housing sector and not even be willing to give potential buyers from the community or from tenants more time. Finally, I'm really excited about Intro 932 as well, Councilmember Nurse's bill, to look at the feasibility of a social housing development agency and think about what else is possible. And I'll just tease out one final example of this. You know what Mitchell Lamas meant to a generation of earlier residents, and it's kind of an interesting experiment because about half the Mitchell Lamas built between 28 and 78 were rentals, and about half were limited equity cooperatives. Of the rentals, more than half of those buildings developed by for-profit private developers with a time-limited obligation have now privatized and are no longer providing affordable housing. But about 90% of the limited equity cooperative Mitchell Lamas remain in the program despite the fact that those residents and their families might make a lot of money if they privatized and get a lot of pressure to do that. It's time for a new generation of a program like that. It'll look a little different from that one, but it's one of our biggest housing successes, and we just do nothing like it today. Unfortunately, HPD's testimony indicates the lack of an ambitious effort to imagine it. What if instead of, for example, fighting to restore the 130% of AMI outer borough housing program that was in 421A, we said, look, on developable sites in the outer boroughs, what we want to give a density bonus to, what we want to give subsidy to, what we want to give a tax break to, is a new shared equity cooperative program that would enable people at a range of incomes to acquire in a way that they could afford, that would be resale restricted so that it would be affordable to future purchases over time. I don't see any other way we'll be able to create genuine homeownership opportunities for working class New Yorkers, given the market that we face. By treating housing as a public good rather than as a vehicle for profit, we could ensure that all New Yorkers have a home they can afford, and that many of them have a path to genuine housing stability and building equity. These bills are a place to start. I'm so grateful that you're hearing them today, and I look really forward to working with you and your colleagues and all the advocates here to make them a reality in New York City. Thank you so very much.
Hey, thank you. No clapping in the chambers. I want to clap too. I'm like, eh. No, thank you so much, Controller Lander. Thank you for your leadership on this topic. Thank you for setting the stage for this council to really pick up on legislation that you began last term, and hit the ground running, right in the beginning of our term. So, question for you. You heard from the administration, just how many obstacles they believe to be present with all of this legislation, but we, in my view, and clearly in so many of my colleagues' view, we have no choice. We have to change the paradigm. We have to do differently in order to house New Yorkers stably. And as I said earlier, to change the model, hopefully nationally, so that these can be ideas that are reproduced in other places. So, assuming we get to a good resolution, to a good spot on these bills, which we will, with the administration, what are some things that, some actions, some policies, some programs, any ideas that you have for how the administration can support CLTs, can support the next generation of Mitchell-Lamas, the next generation of cooperatives that we're going to be constructing through our different tools? What are some ideas?
Yeah. So first I'll say I do appreciate, that the intentionality about building programs and systems that work and that we can implement really is important. So to the extent that one thing that HPD is saying is we're facing a set of barriers right now because we've got vacancies at HPD, because there's a set of challenges in the market, we want to support and help them and get them the resources that they need to be able to process deals. I think one of the first questions you ever asked me about supportive housing is, hey, how do we make sure we set it up to succeed so that the institutions, it's not easy work to maintain a building, especially not where the rents are coming in at massive scale, and you still have to provide excellent services and pay your insurance and pay your energy bills and pay your super. So being thoughtful about setting these things up to succeed and not as excited as we are about the ideas, forgetting that we have to build good infrastructure, is important. And I know you care about that, and I think it's right for HPD to say, let's make sure that we do that. But we know we can because we have done it before. Those Mitchell-Lamas are still succeeding. So much of that affordable CDC-owned and supportive housing is succeeding. And I think if we get people excited about what's possible, we've got a lot better chance of sustaining the support that is needed. Again, if what was getting built in new buildings in the outer boroughs was something like that, Mitchell-Lama at a range of incomes, I think you'd have people saying, hey, I want to see that in my neighborhood. I get that it's no fun to live next to a new construction site, but that's what we want going up so our kids would have access. So two quick ideas about things that we could do to support CLTs. And these bills are a great start. But if we think about how resources can go in, HPD mentioned the Neighborhood Pillars program, which was actually designed to support nonprofit developers, but I think a few things have been learned about it. Let's double down there. Let's increase the resources to the Pillars program. The Pillars program did not really have an affordable or shared equity cooperative program on the model of kind of 21st century Mitchell-Lama. That's not really what Pillars was designed to do, and it's not really what ANCP is either. So more resources for Pillars that allow land trusts as well as CDCs, and with a shared equity homeownership model, that could be in this year's budget. That's like a pilot program. Let's get started even before some of these bills hit the ground running. And then second, I'll just kind of flesh out again, one element that I hear when developers say, oh, the lack of 421A is going to make it difficult, is they talk about that outer borough 130% of AMI program, which, you know, most of 421A for the last 5 years was not the Manhattan-style 80/20s. It was the outer borough 130% AMI program. But 130% of AMI is way above the incomes of almost everyone in the neighborhood where that housing was being built. And so it's not right to say, let's give a tax break from working people for a building that they can't afford even the so-called affordable units in. But what if instead we said, okay, we do want development in the outer boroughs. That mid-rise multifamily model is a good one. What would it need in terms of a tax break, in terms of additional subsidy, and maybe in terms of a density bonus to produce something that let people at 60, at 80, even at 100% of AMI be able to have that Mitchell-Lama type opportunity? They buy a co-op unit, it gets modest appreciation over time, but then it gets sold to someone that's at the same place in the income scheme that they were when they bought it. That is really what land trusts and what social housing developers could be doing. You can imagine a next generation. And so instead of having those black families in that Times article think, I gotta move to Georgia, they could be thinking, you know what, I'm going to support the development of a new multifamily building on my block that I might not have been excited about before when it was going to be somebody else's, but now I see a path to where it could be mine.
Okay. It was on the whole time. No wonder you can hear me sneeze. Well, thank you so much, Controller. These are great ideas. Really appreciate your efforts here, and look forward to working with you. I think it's really important what you said, that, you know, privately or buildings, affordable housing that has been built and constructed by private entities, you see a revolving door of affordability. We lose the affordability after expiration, but for limited equity models, we don't. So we have to do more of that. Thank you for your leadership on this topic.
Thank you for yours. Take good care.
Alrighty, so I'm going to turn it over to our committee council to start to call up our first panel of advocates and folks that have been leading on these topics. But I just want to say one thing. People are watching this hearing, right? We live in a hybrid world, and I just want to shout out that there are several colleagues who are listening. So just because you don't see us here at the dais does not mean that we're not paying attention. So thank you to those colleagues who are listening, who are watching, and to everybody who's listening and watching and who is here present. Taylor?
We will now turn to testimony from the public. Please listen for your name to be called, whether you are here in person or appearing via Zoom. If you are testifying on Zoom, when it is your turn to testify, you will be prompted to unmute. Please accept this prompt and begin your testimony. In the interest of time, your testimony will be limited to 2 minutes per person. We will begin with Christopher Norman, Akila Brown, Elise Golden, and Richard Heifler. If you are here in person, you may come up to the witness table.
We need 1 million copies? Just kidding, just kidding.
Okay, Christopher Norman, if you're ready, you may begin.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. This is Christopher Norman. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before this body today, calling you from Atlanta. I'm the Executive Director of the Metro Atlanta Land Bank, also serve as the President of the Georgia Association of Land Banks for Georgia. And spoken to Councilmember Brewer about this topic, and here to answer any questions and provide information that the committee seeks.
Thank you very much, Chris Norman. It's Gail Brewer. And what I would love to hear you, we had, as you heard, HPD state that, you know, between their different funds, they are able to handle what a land bank can do. and I don't agree with that. When we just heard the controller, he gave the example of San Francisco having a land bank and able to nimbly purchase hotels during the pandemic. And I know here in New York City, we were not able to do that. So can you just explain how a land bank could be more nimble, perhaps, than an agency, can be more transparent, and what the advantages are over an acquisition fund, which is what HPD thinks does the same job? And thank you so much for waiting this entire time.
Oh, sure. Happy to be patient and come here today. As far as the nimbleness of the land bank, one thing about the land bank is that you have a flatter organizational structure, for one. And so, the board sets out the priorities for the organization, which in this case could be acquisition of this type of housing or properties for the purpose of housing, if it's a hotel, office building, former multifamily site. And then once that is set forth, the land bank really works between the staff and the board itself. And so the board is a fiduciary entity that runs the organization. Based on having availability of capital, you can have a quick strike type effort to acquire properties that are available in the marketplace. So it's not just the idea of just buying property for the sake of being opportunistic. The properties are purchased with a goal and an end development use in mind. Just bear in mind that land banks are short-term owners of property. They're not meant to be forever holders of property. The goal is to bring the property in, do any amount of triage that's needed relative to title, encumbrances, anything of that nature, and then turn it around for development.
Okay. One other quick question. I know that you head up Atlanta, and I know you've advised Philadelphia and perhaps other places. Obviously, we're all trying to find affordable housing, and obviously in some cases parks, as you have told me, or other kinds of public spheres that would be appropriate. What do you recommend that is, the best way to be nimble and to be able to do this work? Would perhaps this, it's not just the fund that's available, it's a way in which you go about it. So how does Philadelphia do it? How does Atlanta do it? And where do you get some of the properties, and how quickly are you able to make something positive about these properties?
Yeah, I think that one of the first things is important is to define your area of focus. You can't be all things to all people. And so if you're really focused on, this is kind of a per year basis, if you focus on affordable housing, focus on that. If you focus on doing green space, define that as a core goal. If it's commercial, you can do all these things, but clearly you can't do all of them at once. So what we're able to do is we kind of have a hyper focus on affordable housing or housing related matters here. And so that gives us a keen level of focus. We also focus typically on single family and smaller multifamily. Large enterprise level multifamilies and things of that nature really fall in the purview of our housing authority and our development authority. So they have their lane, we are in our lane. And so once you really start maintaining that level of focus, then you can kind of drill down into the pools of property. Where is the inventory available? And then what's going to be your acquisition methodology? Either be a market purchase, a donation, a tax sale, a criminal seizure. Then that allows you a little bit more focus and latitude and speed by which you can move forward and take down the property. And then, as has been mentioned during the other presentations, we dispose of property via RFPs, RFQs, as well as an application process, so that we have some transparency into who we're dealing with, as well as their capacity and capability to do what we want them to do.
Thank you. We could talk forever. I want everyone to know this is one of the greatest land bank experts in the country, and we deeply appreciate you hanging in with us to get to this point. And thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Councilmember Brewer. And I will neither confirm nor deny that Councilmember Brewer and I talked about possibly stealing you from Atlanta once we have our land bank. No, but thank you so much for bearing with us and for sharing your time today. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much.
Keila Brown.
Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and members of the committee. Thank you for holding today's hearing and for the opportunity to testify. I'm Akila Brown, and I'm on the board of New Economy Project, an organization that for almost 30 years has worked closely with community groups across the state to address inequities in our economy, while simultaneously promoting community-led development that builds collective power and wealth in Black and brown neighborhoods. We thank this committee wholeheartedly for its staunch support of CLTs and other social housing models. Today, I'm testifying in support of the Community Land Act bill package, which includes COPA, Public Land for Public Good, and Resolution 38 in support of TOPA. A strong Community Land Act will give CLTs and other nonprofits new tools to accomplish 3 primary goals. 1, prevent displacement of low-income New Yorkers. 2, bring land and housing into permanently affordable community ownership, not just 60-year regulatory terms. And 3, build collective wealth in Black and brown communities. But it can only do that effectively if a few updates are made. First, there's COPA, which would allow nonprofits to expand the supply of permanently affordable housing by giving them a first right to purchase multifamily buildings up for sale. That bill must include not just the first right to make an offer on a building, but it must also ensure that when a seller is at the point of choosing which matching offer to accept, the nonprofits or the for-profit buyers, particularly where the offers have the same terms and conditions, the seller must accept the offer from the nonprofit, as other cities have provided in their opportunity to purchase policies. A right to match an offer without any guarantee that it will be accepted over a for-profit market bidder does nothing to preserve affordable housing, but that's how COPA is currently written. We also urge the city to dedicate funding streams with these policies to enable CLTs and other qualified entities to reach the affordability levels that their neighborhoods critically need. Second, and I'll close with that. Second, the Public Land for Public Good Act, which would require New York City to prioritize CLTs and nonprofit developers when disposing of city-owned land, should explicitly permit joint ventures with for-profits in that prioritization where the nonprofit has a majority stake to deal with some of the very same issues that HPD raised. That would encourage collaboration in a way that maximizes public good while leveraging varied expertise. And we also recommend the creation of a new definition of community land trust to include community-led non-housing development. I won't go into all of the issues around the affordability crisis that folks have mentioned, but I will say that the dangerous thing that we have ahead of us is that the real estate market in New York City has become extremely consolidated. We need to level the playing field for CLTs and nonprofits, and the Community Land Act package is a really important first step to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Akila.
Elise Golden.
Hi, good afternoon. My testimony is going to sound very similar, but worth repeating. So my name is Elise Golden. I work with the New Economy Project, which is one of the co-founders and coordinators of the New York City Community Land Initiative, or NYCELI, and I'm testifying today representing NYCELI. And we are a coalition of 30 groups, including close to 20 emerging or existing community land trusts, many of whom will also be testifying. Our coalition has been instrumental in the development of the bills in the Community Land Act package. Again, as Akila said, COPA, Community Opportunity to Purchase, Public Land for Public Good, and the resolution to support TOPA, which will all provide new tools to preserve and create community-controlled, deeply and permanently affordable land and housing. We have extremely broad support for the Community Land Act. We have over 100 organizations that have currently signed on to endorse this package of bills, which include community groups, faith-based groups, community development corporations, youth groups, arts groups, so extremely diverse. It is inspiring to see that during a horrific housing crisis, communities are organizing, and there's been enormous growth of the CLT movement, in part due to support of City Council, but also, of course, due to communities really coming together and fighting back against the gentrification and displacement in their neighborhoods, and now is really necessary to take the community land trust movement to the next level through these policies. As Akila said, I'm going to reiterate that COPA must include a right of first refusal for qualified entities, also include vacant property that is zoned for residential use of 3 units or more, and the public land disposition bill must include the opportunity to partner with for-profits like WMBEs, and should expand the definition of CLT to include uses in addition to housing. Thank you.
Richard Heifler.
Hi. I want to say that my written testimony is 8 pages long. I will not attempt to read it. What I intend to do is use my 2 minutes to try to encourage you or give you a reason why you might want to read it. I also want to say how thrilled I am to be here and to be part of this large network, this broad umbrella that has been created by Brad Lander that includes the broad range of social housing. And I was thrilled to be on the steps of City Hall earlier today. I have attended both of the convenings for housing as a public good, where I have got a chance to see my old friend Gail Brewer and met some of the people in this room for the first time, including you, Madam Chairman. I heard you speak, and I am thrilled. I am thrilled to be here because I've been in the Mitchell-Lama Co-op since 1975, and I've been working for affordable cooperative housing, both as an employee and board member of UHAB, and before that, I was hired by Philip St. George to work in the original Division of Alternative Management Programs at HPD, and that goes back to the late 70s and the 80s. So it's great that the idea of shared equity housing, which was a hot idea once in the 30s, and then again in the 50s, and then again in that wonderful 20-year period between 55 and 75 when 150,000 units of Mitchell-Lama were built, to hear that it's a good idea again is fabulous. I was thrilled to attend the convening and learn of the 3 Ds, the 3 principles that define social housing: deep affordability, democratic control, and decommodification. And I'm here to say that the single best program, in the city of New York, state of New York, and perhaps in the United States of America is Mitchell-Lama. I want to talk about deep affordability, even if I get a chance to talk about nothing else. HPD publishes these notices. You can get them on the website. The one that's up there now is for Rupert House on the Upper East Side. You can buy a 3-bedroom apartment for $32,413. Your monthly charge will vary from $797 to $935. I didn't make up these numbers. They're in the notice. And they've been approved by certified public accountants and HPD. Other people have compared these rates to market, but I want to make one final point, which is also in this notice because many of you have mentioned it. It's the band of affordability. This apartment is affordable to families with incomes ranging from $31,880 to $206,875. And that's a band of affordability from 30% of median to 125% of median. And that is the kind of housing we want. I will skip democratic control. Mitchell-Lama Co-ops sometimes are wonderful, sometimes not. We can talk about that. But I want to get to the 3rd D of decommodification, if you will allow me. One of the factors, and there are many in my testimony that explain the resilience and the stability and the lasting power of Mitchell-Lama, but one of them is because we are the single best example of decommodification in the state of New York. There is a resale formula which calls for no appreciation on asset. There is no speculative, it's not even limited equity. The formula in Mitchell-Lama is you get back what you paid in. Your original equity payment when you moved in, which was 5% of the total development cost, plus your contributions to capital in the form of mortgage principal or assessments. So you take out your capital when you leave. You put in your capital when you come in and when you live there, and when you leave it, you take it out, and capital remains at cost. I'm done. and that is what makes it affordable to the next generation. So somebody at Rupert House bought that apartment for $3,000 40 years ago, and now it's $30,000, and it will be affordable in perpetuity. And the rest of my testimony contains support for the legislation and some ideas about what you might consider doing to preserve Mitchell-Lama's in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you so. Right, it's not natural to do this. But no, thank you for your testimony. And as a member of this council that represents a community where the median income in my community is around 25%. Nothing works for us. So absolutely thrilled to hear this example lifted by you, and just want to appreciate your time.
Right, and at some point I would like to talk to you, which is a particular council issue about conversions from Mitchell-Lama to Article 11, which we oppose, and which I think will be very easy to convince you in particular about why we should continue to oppose them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, noted on your opposition of Article 2 to 11 conversions. So we have approximately 40 or 50 folks signed up. So I don't like to limit the time, especially because folks have been waiting for a long time. But if we can try for the remainder. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll call up the next panel.
Thank you. I would now like to welcome Kareem Hudson, Andrea Kretschmer, and Jolie Milstein, and Craig Livingston. Kareem Hudson, if you're ready, you may begin.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you, Chair Sanchez, members of the Committee on Housing and Buildings, and other distinguished members of the City Council for the opportunity to submit testimony regarding Intro 637 today. My name is Kareem Hudson. I am President and CEO of Genesis Companies, a full-service real estate firm founded in 2004, specializing in financing, developing, and operating affordable housing projects in New York City and beyond. I'm here today to express my opposition to Intro 637, the proposed legislation to dispose of city-owned land exclusively to not-for-profits organizations. If passed, it will further exclude and undermine Black and Latino-owned firms from participating in the real estate industry. This is an industry that has historically been and continues to be controlled by and primarily benefits white-owned and/or white-controlled firms, whether they are for-profit or not. This needs to change. We have made strides towards inclusion and cannot afford to set the clock backwards now. I grew up in Harlem and the Bronx in the 80s. I experienced many of the perils that face Black and Latino residents today. I grew up playing football on the concrete streets right next to the Cross Bronx Expressway. Around me, buildings were in shambles, and we were victims of that. Friends suffered from asthma, neighbors faced constant pest infestations, there was crumbling physical surroundings, and no indoor air quality, not low, no. This was the impetus for me, fresh out of Harvard Business School, to leave a career in private equity and banking, to reinvest in the communities that I grew up in. I figured a young Black kid from the Bronx and Harlem could make a difference. I came to believe we can make positive change and utilize my financial acumen to create long-term, financially sustainable housing. 20 years since founding Genesis, my team and I remain committed to turn around some of the toughest and most problematic residential buildings in the city. If you know anything about how this works, Black and Latino developers aren't usually getting the shiny projects. Instead, we are relegated to some of the most challenging projects that strengthen and strain our talented staff. While we've seen our fair share of bad, we work every day to do some good for our residents' behalf by working to deliver safe and sustainable affordable housing. Moreover, we're still in these neighborhoods today, living and working alongside our residents, My wife and young children and I are proud Harlemites, walking the same Harlem streets my grandmother walked over 98 plus years ago. I want my daughters to witness firsthand how communities and entrepreneurship come together. My Puerto Rican wife and our talented daughters can be part of a Black father and husband, building a real estate company, working in their community and beyond. I just want to say this one thing. As a 100% Black-owned firm, Genesis has been fortunate enough to grow over the last 2 decades to a staff of approximately 50 professionals. More than 95% of our staff identify as Black or Latino, many living in the communities they serve. Black-owned women comprise 60% of our executive staff. 2 former employees left Genesis to start or lead other real estate groups. Moreover, Genesis and other of my Black and Latino executives hire an outsized proportion of other Black and Latino-controlled firms. We've thereby created an ecosystem for Black and Latino families to prosper. We need public partnerships to grow our firms and to promote our employees and their families. In partnership with the city over the last 20 years, we've grown from 0 opportunity to preserving and developing over 2,200 units. We need that to continue. We cannot be cut out from the ability to partner with the city on land opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hudson. And that's my district. The growing up and playing near the Cross Bronx. That's where I represent. And so you're proud Harlemite, but I also hope you stay a proud Bronxite. I just want to deeply appreciate the perspective that you have here. I don't know if you were here earlier when I mentioned to Councilmember Ressler that I hope that we can talk about this, because MWBEs play a critical role in addressing that racial wealth gap, right? And in particular, ones like yours, right, that are 100% Black-owned and operated, and like you said, contribute to the ecosystem. So a quick follow-up question for you, would you be in support of Intro 637 if it did prioritize similarly MWBEs?
Yeah, I definitely would like to talk about that and see how that could possibly work. I am concerned about limiting tools for affordable housing production. We need to make sure we don't do that. But I want to say, just to underscore the point that you made earlier in your discussion, Chairwoman, let us not forget that the entire purpose of the Community Reinvestment Act was to reverse racism, often government-initiated real estate policies that deny Blacks from owning real estate. Not just owning at the single-family level, and I understand people want to own units, but also at the entrepreneurial level, right? We need to continue to support Black ownership, Latino ownership at mass entrepreneurial scales, and not just a single-family scale. So I think we need to talk about ways to promote that. And I think one of the issues, and I don't want to conflate the issues, I know there's a lot of conversation about serving lower AMIs and not having for-profits provide housing for larger AMI groups. But I think that's a program issue, right, that we need to then figure out how to regulate and talk to HPD about, as opposed to developers that are participating in the program issue. So I just want to make sure we differentiate between those two issues.
Thank you, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Andrea Kretschmer.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Andrea Kretschmer, and I'm an affordable and supportive housing developer. My company, Xenolith Partners, is a woman-owned business certified as a WBE in New York City and New York State. I stand strongly opposed to Intro 637, which would require that the city, in disposing of its own land, prioritize nonprofit developers. As a principal, I've developed more than 700 units of affordable and supportive housing in the city of New York, and my firm has another 200 plus units under construction and in our pipeline. All of our affordable housing projects include a supportive housing component that is housing for seniors, formerly homeless, and formerly incarcerated individuals and families, for survivors of domestic violence, and persons living with HIV/AIDS. At our developments, we provide supportive services, workforce development, and health and wellness programming. Our buildings are designed to maximum sustainability and energy efficiency standards. 4 of our developments are built on city-owned land awarded to us through RFPs, and every single one of them includes a nonprofit partner, and all of them are permanently affordable. New York City has, over the past 10 years, committed to fostering the growth of MWBE developers with building capacity courses and building opportunity initiatives. HPD has sought to address the disparities in MWBE participation in affordable housing development. Dozens of small firms like mine have developed thousands of affordable and supportive units, adding to New York's desperately needed supply. Tax status is a red herring. Public records show that CEOs of 3 of the top nonprofit affordable housing developers were salaried between $500,000 and $1 million a year. I don't begrudge them that income. They work hard and work well, but please don't be fooled by an organization's tax status. My company is run by women, and we are driven by mission. RFPs are the rare level playing field. HPD requires that every team include 25% participations by MWBEs or nonprofits, and in some cases like mine, that participation is 50, 60, 70% or more. Please don't discriminate against MWBE developers, and please don't waste progress that we've already made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jolie Milstein.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name's Jolie Milstein. I previously was a developer, a not-for-profit developer of supportive housing for the HIV/AIDS homeless communities in New York City, and I'm currently the president and CEO for New York State's Association for Affordable Housing. We represent the 400 companies that develop and operate the vast majority of affordable housing across the city and state, both not-for-profit and for-profit developers, and you'll hear from some of our members today. NYSAFA strongly opposes Intro 637, Intro 714, and Intro 196. However, I'd like to devote my testimony today to Intro 637, which reserves all city-owned land for disposition to not-for-profits. This bill is a solution in search of a problem. Permanent affordability on city-owned sites is already ensured via remainder interest, which HPD has placed on its RFP sites since 2017. This legal clause allows HPD to ensure that the housing is affordable in perpetuity. Regarding equitable ownership, HPD policy already requires respondents for city-owned land to have not-for-profit organizations or MWBE companies as equity partners in a joint venture. Furthermore, Intro 637 will hurt affordable housing production. We've already discussed that according to the Mayor's Management Report, city production is off by 45% in 2022 from 2021, and limiting the pool of companies that can build on city-owned land will exacerbate this trend. We need all hands on deck. And partnerships between not-for-profits and for-profits allows respondents to field vertically integrated development teams that can benefit both parties. This helps manage ever-increasing construction costs between $400 and $500 a square foot and growing every day. Partnerships also allow each side to contribute to their strengths. Additionally, MWBEs are inherently for-profit companies. This legislation would disallow them from applying for these RFP sites. We strongly urge the Council to reconsider this package, which will disrupt affordable housing production during the worst crisis the city has seen in history.
Thank you both for testifying, and I want to thank you for the social housing that you have produced, right? The housing that you have created that is helping the most vulnerable New Yorkers. We'll absolutely take this into consideration, and just want to continue the conversation with you because wherever we go, wherever we end up, you know, it has to be in conversation with all of you.
Thank you.
Craig Livingston.
I'm on camera. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Craig Livingston. I'm the board chair of NYREC, which is the New York Real Estate Chamber. It is the leading advocacy group and chamber of commerce for BIPOC focused developers in New York City and New York State. I'm here today to voice our strong opposition to the proposed legislation to dispose of city-owned land exclusively to not-for-profits, Intro 637. If passed and enacted in its current form, the bill will result in deeper disenfranchisement of Black and Brown-owned businesses, diminishing their access to economic opportunities within New York City. In recent decades, Black and Brown for-profit developers have been instrumental partners in underserved communities, building high-quality, affordable housing and investing in neighborhoods across New York City. By limiting access to city-owned land in such a significant and profound manner, the city risks eliminating opportunities for Black and Brown developers and continues that very same pattern of disenfranchisement that Chair Sanchez spoke about in her opening remarks. We have worked closely with agencies like New York City Housing Preservation and Development, or the Housing Development Corporation. Roughly 80% of the real estate projects developed by NIREC members are affordable housing projects. Our members collectively own approximately 20,000 affordable housing units, which are regulated with regulatory agreements. And in my written testimony, I provided a few examples of projects done by our membership. Additionally, Black for-profit developers have proven our capabilities. We have the capacity, resources, and expertise to build and maintain safe, environmentally sound, affordable housing on city-owned land. Very important to the point about wealth creation and economic empowerment. Black and brown developers have a much higher propensity of hiring plumbers,
Your time has expired.
Architects, engineers, masons, you name it, that are also Black-led firms who in turn hire Black and brown employees. This legislation seeks to thwart the economic advancements that we've made and being able to share economic progress throughout our communities. The proposed legislation would significantly reverse the progress the city is beginning to make with diversifying how it operates with private partners. This bill is contrary to what we know and what we are working to correct, in that the city has to diversify the developers it works with, not take away opportunity from Black and brown developers. I just want to cite a couple other things.
I'm sorry, but you're at time. And I do commit to looking at your testimony if you can send that. But I just want to repeat what I said earlier, that there is willingness and openness to consider amending the legislation to include MWBEs, and I would love to continue that conversation with you as well in the association. Okay? Thank you so much.
I would now like to welcome Alexis Foote, Valerio Arcelli, Athena Bernkopf, and Rachel Brown to come up and testify. Alexis Foote, you can begin.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Sanchez and members of the Housing Committee. Thank you for holding today's hearing and for the opportunity to testify. I am Mrs. Alexis Foote. I am the founder of the Real Edgemere CLT in Far Rockaway. The Real Edgemere CLT Community Land Trust is a community-led development and management organization. Its activities are directed by the surrounding community to facilitate a just, equitable, and resilient community. The CLT will develop places and programming in order to cultivate physical, economic, housing, and cultural vibrancy. TOPA and COPA in the future will help the Real Edgemere CLT acquire land in Far Rockaway. We have lots of land that is in NYCHA portfolios and HPD portfolios and have been given to large developers. I actually live in Auburn View, which was purchased by L&M, Bluestone, and Triangle Equity. And because we didn't have strong legislation in place, the tenants weren't able to buy the property, and we are still living in horrible conditions. We suffer with lack of employee management. We are suffering right now. Auburn East is one of the biggest developments in New York City, and you gave it to L&M and Bluestone, and it could have been given to us to really do equitable, just things. In Far Rockaway, we are suffering with lack of amenities. We are suffering with crowded over schools, and we are suffering from lack of medical, like hospitals. And with supporting COPA and TOPA, these lots could be put into our hands where we could do real development. We've been waiting for real development for over 50 years now. And with these policies being put in place, it would help us secure and do development where we could get our guys off the street and put them to work. If you come and visit Auburn U, we are suffering, and we need the city to support us in becoming owners. The CLT is fighting for collective control, stewardship, climate resiliency, flood protection.
We have to continue, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Valerio Arcelli.
May I go? Okay. Good afternoon, Committee Chair Sanchez and members of the Housing Committee. My name is Valerio Orselli. I am the Project Director of This Land Is Ours Community Land Trust, and I'm a founding member of the Cooper Square CLT, currently the largest and most successful CLT in New York City. This Land Is Ours Community Land Trust is one of the newest CLTs formed in New York City. We're made up of housing activists and area residents committed to the development of permanently and deeply affordable housing and community uses. Our structure allows us to pursue the housing needs of working class/poor communities and communities of color. We seek to acquire underutilized properties, troubled HDFCs, and public land to create housing and prevent displacement. I'm here to express our full support for the pending legislative initiatives, Intro 196, COPA, Intro 637, Public Land for the Public Good, City Council Resolution 38, and also wish to give our full support to Intro 714, which calls for the creation of a New York City Community Land Bank. As a newly established CLT, our organizing efforts have been limited. Recently, we won a commitment from the New York Archdiocese to develop 400 units of deeply affordable housing at the decommissioned St. Emmerich's Church on East 13th Street. Through our organizing, with a lot of help from Councilmember Rivera, we also won a commitment from the city to redevelop the NYPD parking lot on East 5th Street for 70 low-income senior apartments. We're also working to win a similar commitment to redevelop the underutilized NYCHA parking lot on East 6th Street, 50 apartments for families and the community center. If the two sites are disposed of through the current RFP process, we will not be able to compete with for-profit developers. To bring these projects to fruition, we need the City Council to pass Public Land for Public Good, prioritizing disposition of public properties to community land trusts. Developable land in Manhattan and other boroughs is scarce and expensive. We're looking at underutilized public land to develop affordable housing, other community services, and the process takes years. That is why we need a land bank that can take over parking lots, even public libraries. The Source Center for Urban Future, for example, identified.
Your 2 minutes are up. I'm so sorry.
Okay, just.
You have one more sentence? I got you.
Yes. The Source Center for Urban Future has identified 10 potential library sites that could be a combination of affordable housing and co-development. 772 units could be generated. We support the land bank in all its aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Athena Burnkoff. Push the button on the mic.
There we go. Good afternoon to all. Thank you for holding today's hearing and for the opportunity to testify. My name is Athena Burnkoff, and I'm Project Director at the East Harlem Barrio CLT. I'm here to speak in support of the Community Land Act, and I think East Harlem Barrio's example could serve to understand why we need this bill. In November of 2020, we acquired our first 4 plots of land and have been working with nonprofit developer partners to establish the East Harlem Barrio Mutual Housing Association, which manages the 4 buildings on our CLT. With our partners, we are currently in the process of gut rehabilitation of all 4 buildings, which did not receive the maintenance and resources they needed while previously in city ownership. During this construction period, we've been working on building out the tenant-led governance structure that will steward the Mutual Housing Association after the rehab process. And once construction is complete, the CLT will provide a renewable 99-year ground lease to the Mutual Housing Association, effectively ensuring that these rent-stabilized units will remain permanently affordable at a range from $770 to $2,600. We've also reserved 4 of these 38 residential units for people who are coming out of the city's shelter system. This is major, and it took incredible hard work to get here. It took us nearly a decade to study CLTs, to build awareness across the city of what CLTs are, to study housing landscape and needs of our community members, and to advocate to the city to choose the well-being of our communities by identifying properties that could be preserved on the CLT. And even as our rents are incredibly low for New York City standards, we know that there is a need for even deeper affordability, which we can't reach because of the debt we were forced to take on to rehab buildings that were formerly in the city's care. So in contradiction to some of the points that were made by HPD earlier today, we had to fight to get here, and we're still fighting. For the majority of us, displacement, housing insecurity, houselessness, community environmental loss is our inheritance, an intergenerational burden that has been passed down over and over again. This is a cycle that has been directly sustained by city policy, which routinely subsidizes private for-profit developers. I'm going to skip to the point. By taking land and housing off the speculative market, by creating opportunities for residents to step into management of their own buildings and preserve housing affordability, centering the leadership of community groups that are driven by and accountable to their communities, we can and will create more housing options that's accessible to the people who need it the most. And that's what the Community Land Act is about. Thank you for the time to speak today.
Thank you so much. Not just biased because I used to be on the board of the CLT, but thank you.
Go ahead. Good afternoon. Thank you, Committee Chair Sanchez and members of the Housing Committee for holding this hearing and for allowing me to testify. My name is Rachel Brown, and I'm part of the steering committee and the outreach committees of the Western Queens Community Land Trust. The Western Queens CLT is a member of NICELI, the New York City Community Land Initiative, and as such, I also represent the Western Queens CLT at city policy meetings. So I'm here to testify in support of the Community Land Act because this set of bills would greatly aid our work to democratize land use in Western Queens. In particular, the Community Opportunity to Purchase Act, Intro 196, and the Public Land for Public Good, Intro 637, would help us convert a public building on public land into a community hub. By the way, this is the public land and public building that the government was going to give to Amazon, trillion dollar company. And so what we would like to do is actually turn it into deeply affordable commercial space for small businesses, especially manufacturing that's been pushed out of the area, also artist space, food justice space, and community-based nonprofits. So in Western Queens, we have also started working with community groups and tenants who are struggling against high rents and delinquent landlords, and so we also are in support of Resolution 38, TOPA. And in summary, I'm trying to hit the 2-minute mark. I urge the City Council to pass the Community Land Act to support community-led development and community control of land. Public land and money should never go to companies like Amazon or for-profit developers that are building luxury condos and displacing people of color and low-income folks. New York City needs public land and resources for the people. We need social housing for working-class people. We need housing as a human right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I want to thank all 4 of you. So we just try to keep it at 2 minutes, and then there's questions for you. So just 1 second, and I think Councilmember Brewer also has some questions. And so particularly, and I'm sorry, I missed your name from Arvern. Alexis, okay. Particularly for Alexis, you mentioned interacting with the city and trying to establish a CLT or trying to get ownership for the tenants. Who did you interface with? How long was that process?
Well, once Hurricane Sandy happened, the city, the council member, the senator, and Triangle Equity, L&M and Bluestone, they came and did like a 1-360 on us. And I told the residents, listen, let's not sign anything until we have our lawyers, because once they came and did their purchase, they stripped us of our rent stabilization. When I moved to Ocean Village, now called Auburn View, a 2-bedroom was $922. A 2-bedroom now is $2,000, and it's gonna go up because L&M just asked HUD for a 5-year rent increase. So in the next 5 years, I could be paying $6,000 for the same 2-bedroom.
Thank you.
And this is why this Housing Act is so important for my community.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that resonates with Controller Lander's point before about when housing has been built by a private entity, it's more likely, this is just what the numbers show historically, it's more likely to go out of affordability than if it's limited equity or another model. So thank you for sharing that personal story. Councilmember Brewer?
So for Val and others, so the question is, in the work that you're doing, which is the land trust as opposed to the land bank, HPD thinks that they don't need a land bank because they already have it under control. Acquisition fund will take care of everything. So Val, just to start with you, do you think that that is true? Have you accessed the acquisition fund, or do you think a land bank would also be more helpful? I just was wondering what you think, because you've been doing this even longer than I have. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, the acquisition fund, if you talk about purchasing private property in New York City, is grossly inadequate, and there's no way that we can use that to actually make meaningful purchases. And the land bank would be used not merely to perhaps purchase private property, but it will be banking public property, which is an increasingly scarce resource and should be dedicated to low-income housing, because that's the only kind of housing that you're going to be able to build if you don't, unless you have public land. So there's a need for a public bank, and also the process is not going to be taking place overnight, because even after you are given a promise to a piece of land or a building, you still need to raise the necessary funds to develop it or to rehab it. And that, as HPD should be able to tell you, takes many years sometimes, way too much time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to all members of this panel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Juan Barahanu, Phyllis Gray, Ann Tershwell, and Joelle Balam-Schwan. And if you are here in person, please come up to the table.
No, I'll send them later.
Juan Barahana, if you're ready.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and members of the committee. My name is Juan Barahona. I'm currently the principal of SMJ Development, which is a firm dedicated to the development and preservation of affordable housing in New York City. My first exposure to this industry was as a summer intern at HPD's Northern Manhattan Planning Office in 1997. And subsequent to that, I went to work for HPD for a few years, and that ultimately, ironically, catalyzed my entrepreneurial spirit. And then 15 years later, I started my own shop. I mention all this because, I'm very steeped in the preservation and development of affordable housing and how complicated and complex it is. Which I think is something that often gets taken for granted when policy is enacted or policy is proposed and legislation is proposed. So I understand that we're here to speak about the suite of bills related to social housing, and I have no problem with social housing as a concept in general. I just think that the devil is in the details, and you want to get this legislation right for it actually to be effective. I think the biggest problem I have is probably with Intro 637. As it stands for the reasons that we've outlined. I can count on one hand the number of Latino for-profit affordable housing developers in the city of New York, which is 29% Latino. And I think that's a gross, a gross problem that we really need to address in terms of creating opportunities so that we're just not the users of affordable housing, right? And that we're not just relegated to forever being the users. But we can also be the owners and creators of these places and serve as examples for our community. Really what I think is getting lost here is the affordable housing development as it stands today is just taking too long and it's too expensive. A typical HPD RFP will probably, from start to finish, go about 8 years. And I really think, and I'm not hearing anything from the council or reading in the legislation, how that particular problem is being addressed. CLT or otherwise, I think you have to break down how complicated it is to develop this. And my concern with Intro 637 in particular is that you may be setting people up to not succeed. It's one thing to say you want to build affordable housing. It's another thing to actually do it in the context of the regulatory and government, hurdles that we've set up in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phyllis Gray.
Oh, good afternoon. My name is Phyllis Gray, and I live in the Bronx. I support everything you're doing, but my concern here is my development is presently facing a 20% maintenance increase because there were not enough funds to pay our vendors, $2.1 million. In addition, we had a large number of vacant apartments. We also had shareholders that were not paying their arrears. The point I'm trying to make is there are two agencies in place, HPD and DHCR, and I really think those agencies need to be more effective in terms of my development. The reality is all boards are not equal. I live in the Bronx. We don't have the same resources as some of the boards downtown. I'm not saying we're not bright, but in terms of resources, I can't call my uncle to read the contract for me or my other aunt who's an accountant. So we need HCR and DHCR to be more responsible. They submit field reports on our property, highlighting all the issues, but they don't act on them. We've been writing them for years. It doesn't take rocket science. If I have 30 apartments empty in my development, I know we're going to fall short, but they're not responding properly. They're putting the onus back on the shareholders. And again, they need to be revamped. They need to be revamped, and that's something that can be handled. They need to stop recycling management company, lawyers, and accountants where they say they are part of the problem in terms of mismanaging us, but you're putting them back in a pool for another development to get the same project manager. I have a letter here from 1997 for one of the management companies we got rid of. 4 years ago, they gave us back the same management company to review. This is incomprehensible. I mean, we may not have all the resources available, but they have a responsibility to shareholders that are forging ahead, trying to look out for their properties, to assist us.
Thank you, Ms. Gray. What kind of property do you live in? Is it a Mitchell
Jamie Towers, Mitchell-Lama in the Bronx. Beautiful, 12.5 acres, 3 parking lots, Olympic-sized pool. Gorgeous. We just need the assistance.
Are you trying to get me to move there?
Absolutely. We just need their assistance, and I support everything you're doing. But the reality is that's something can be tweaked. That's not hard. They're going to have to revamp and change how they, so that they're more effective. And we have reached out. I was on the board, new. I just kept writing. No response. I'm flabbergasted. You know, the reality is you can always learn something regardless of their age. And I'm just looking at what's happening. But we need the support.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to speaking more with you about your particular property.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ann Tershwell.
Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and committee members. My name is Annie Tershwell. I am the co-founder and principal of a mission-driven, women-owned, affordable and supportive housing development firm called Type A Projects. My partner and I started Type A Projects after building over 1 million square feet of community schools in New York City with a not-for-profit development firm that I co-founded and ran for over a decade called Civic Builders. We started Type A Projects to bring the development skills we had honed in one of the toughest real estate markets in the country to bear on the intractable problems of affordable housing and homelessness. We started Type A as a WBE and not a not-for-profit with the express purpose of helping to make the delivery of affordable housing in New York City more equitable. We support the city's current equitable ownership requirement, which acknowledges that minority and women-owned businesses, as well as not-for-profits, need a stake in neighborhood development to ensure that our city's growth is inclusive. MWBEs typically have deep roots in the communities we seek to work in. Ensuring that our firms have an ownership stake in the affordable housing arena is critical for the creation of a more equitable city. When enacted, the equitable ownership requirements specifically empowered entrepreneurs of color and women to construct and operate affordable housing projects within their own communities, allowing for the creation of new jobs and economic growth across the city. When we started Type A, you can count on one hand the number of affordable housing development firms owned and run by women. That number has slowly climbed over the last 10 years, thanks in large part to the sustained efforts made by New York City agencies, including New York City's EDC and HPD, both of which have prioritized MWBE firms' capacity in recognition of the unique and important contributions to solving the housing crisis. This progress must not stop if we want our city's neighborhoods to reflect those that live and work in them and bring all available resources to combat our housing crisis. I'll summarize by asking you to support women and minority-owned businesses and vote no on Intro 637. I will close with a quick quote from Council Member Francisco Moya, also in support of the city's 2020 equitable ownership requirement. Quote, "If we are truly to level the playing field for women and minority-owned businesses to build wealth, we need to ensure that they are included and reflected in the work that advances our communities." Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, and I also just want to thank you for being active in the civic space. I always see you participating in the civic discourse, and I take these criticisms very seriously, all of your criticisms very seriously, and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Hi, sorry. My name is Joelle Balam-Schwan, and I'm with the Supportive Housing Network of New York. We're here to show support for the Community Land Act, specifically Community Opportunity to Purchase Act and Public Land for Public Good, and speak to how they would help further the production and expansion of desperately needed supportive housing in New York City. The network is a membership organization. We represent over 200 nonprofits who develop, own, and operate 58,000 supportive housing units statewide, 38,000 of which are in New York City. For those of you who don't know, supportive housing is deeply affordable permanent housing with embedded social services for people who have experienced homelessness and who have the greatest barriers to achieving housing stability. Supportive housing is a key solution to addressing New York City's homelessness crisis, but available, affordable land for developing it is extremely scarce. New York City's current supportive housing commitment, New York City NYC 1515, launched in 2015, committed to creating 15,000 units of supportive housing over the following 15 years. One of the greatest challenges to continuing this pipeline, however, is identifying affordable and appropriate sites. Both COPA and Public Land for Public Good would help nonprofits acquire buildings and land to continue this crucial pipeline of supportive housing. New York City 1515 envisioned 7,500 congregate units, which are single-site residences, which typically feature 60% of units for supportive tenants, 40% for low-income individuals and families, and 7,500 scattered site units, apartments rented from existing stock in the community in which the nonprofit provides mobile services. The scattered site model has come with a lot of challenges that pose a danger to the completion of the city's greatly needed program. So in order to meet the target for New York City 1515, we need to start thinking creatively right now. There are approximately 6,000 unawarded scattered site units that could be utilized more efficiently, which would mean creating more congregate supportive housing, which means even a greater need for sites and land. So COPA and Public Land for Public Good would assist in making this possible, as well as help keep supportive housing in the hands of mission-driven nonprofits. So I realize I'm at time, so I will submit this in writing with the rest of this, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, and thanks to Shini for the work that you do. I do just want to address one point by Mr. Barahona. Nice to see you again, by the way. Just one, enlisting your help, right? On the HPD pipeline, this council, bless your soul. But this council has consistently called on the mayor and on HPD to beef up their staffing, right? That's a major source of delays. They just don't have enough project management staff on board. And I and a lot of advocates, we continue to call for an expansion of the amount of funds that are going to these developments, right? Because if you miss the cut and you're not in the pipeline for 2022, you might get pushed to 2023, 2024, and right? And so a big part of that is just the amount of capital that we are dedicating to the construction and preservation of affordable housing. And so please join us in advocating for more of that, but completely hear you on the MWBE points and look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next, we will hear from Samuel Stein, Will Depu, Ariel Hirsch, and Paula Siegel. You can come up to the table if you're here in person.
All right. Thank you very much, Chair Sanchez, committee members, everybody, advocates for being here today. My name is Samuel Stein. I'm a senior policy analyst at the Community Service Society of New York, or CSS. We are members of the New York City Community Land Initiative, and we strongly support all of the bills under discussion today, especially with the changes encouraged by Nicely. I submitted a long testimony that gets into each and every one of these bills, so you have that. Rather than summarizing exactly what's in there, I'm going to turn away from my written notes here and say, first of all, that CSS has been working on social housing for decades and promoting community and public ownership and collective control of housing. So it's really excellent and historic to see this hearing today. We hope it's the first among many. And I thought maybe I could encourage everybody listening today to think about what could have happened if we had these bills 50 years ago. Think about who could be in your districts today who is displaced. Think about all the homeless people who would not have been homeless were it not for all the kinds of policy decisions that were made over those years. These bills are not a time machine. They don't go back and change all that. But if you imagine 50 years from now without any of these bills and all the displacement that might result, that should be good cause to vote yes on all these bills. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for staying all here all afternoon, and also I'm learning to use my new reading glasses, so apologies, this is their first day out. It's fun. My name is Paula Siegel. I am Senior Staff Attorney at Take Root Justice. We are a member of the New York City Community Land Initiative. You heard from a number of our colleagues and organizations who are also initiative members today. I'm not going to repeat things you heard already. I'll talk a little bit about our work, and then I'll respond a little bit to some things I heard in earlier testimony. So we at Take Root support the growing movement for affordable, community-controlled housing, commercial and community spaces through legal services to the CLT members of the initiative and to other groups exploring the community land trust model. We provide everything from education on orientation and incorporation to transactional representation on negotiating ground leases and joint venture agreements. We help groups navigate their relationships with developers. And we see really clearly that the community land trust model is a durable, sustainable model that has internal checks and balances, designed to foreclose opportunities for self-dealing and to expand opportunities for community participation over time. We see in our clients that that's their intent as they're building these institutions. And I have to say, actually, earlier this year, I moved into a Mitchell-Lama co-op. And it's an exciting, so I'm sort of sitting in this place where I get to see this from both sides. I bought my unit for less than $20,000. My maintenance is less than $1,000. The person who I bought, the unit that I bought had last changed hands for about $1,600 before I bought it, and that is a model that's really exciting. And I'm really excited about what that means for my future, and I'm really excited for us to be growing similar models in New York City. I want to respond specifically to some of the things we heard from our partners in the development world about Intro 697, the Public Land for Public Good bill. First of all, the bill as drafted today prioritizes disposition to community land trusts and nonprofits. It does not prohibit disposition to other entities, and I think there was kind of a characterization made. But my clients need development partners. They need the expertise that you heard from today, right? They need the entrepreneurs, they need the deep knowledge of development, of materials, of processes. They need those partners in order to make truly sustainable projects that will be there for generations. And we hope that the spirit of the bill will not be reduced just by creating an opportunity for more entrepreneurship without checks and balances. The checks and balances that are put in place when a community land trust partners with a developer, especially an MWB developer with deep roots in the neighborhood, that's what we're looking for. That is what we will create the long-term impacts that the Community Land Act is geared towards. So I look forward to working with you all on language that will help turn that into action, but I really want to stress that this is not an either-or proposition, and without our development partners, community land trusts can't build housing.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank both of you and everybody that's still here for also being here since noon. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Our next panel will be Ellen Davidson, Pamela Herrera, Brianna Solian, and Kirk Goodrich.
I'm just gonna be replaced. Yes. Lincoln, Councilmember Ressler is gonna just stand in for me for just a minute. I'll be listening. I just have to go to the bathroom, but I'll be listening. New mom, y'all. New mom.
Ellen Davidson, when you're ready.
I'll make this short and sweet. Thank you to the council for holding this hearing and considering these resolutions and intros. I'm Ellen Davidson. I'm a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society. I represent tenants. And I'm actually here to speak on the resolutions as opposed to the intros. And you might think, well, why? Because obviously the intros are on very important pieces of legislation. But I sat in a assembly member's office in January, and she explained that while housing really wasn't her thing, she supported the good cause eviction law because her council member had voted for it as a resolution the previous time it was considered. And so resolutions, I think, are important, and getting good cause eviction and housing access vouchers done now is essential. Everything we've heard today is about how we build more and produce more housing for people. It's incredibly important, but it's also about the future. And right now, for my clients, they just want to stay in place until that future gets there. And what will keep them in place is the good cause eviction bill and the housing access voucher program, which, as you know, is a state Section 8 program that would be available to all New Yorkers, including those without immigration status. And so I appreciate that the council is speaking up because this council doesn't have the power to do this. And I remain hopeful that all of you will be talking to your state electeds about why these bills are so very important, and hopefully by the end of budget we will have made progress for New York City tenants. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm very proud that all 4 state senators and 4 assembly members who represent District 33 have endorsed or co-sponsors of good cause eviction.
Yeah, newly endorsed,
Truly.
but it's all worth the wait.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Pamela Herrera. Brianna Solian.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brianna. I'm a board member of the East New York Community Land Trust, and I'm here to testify in support of the Community Land Act. So East New York CLT formed during the pandemic in 2020 in order to take control of the blighted and vacant city-owned lots in East New York. And find a solution to the affordable housing crisis that's on our terms, and to put a stop to the rampant speculation we've seen over the last decade. The East New York CLT is organizing to gain control of these lots because we need to be forward-thinking about land development in our neighborhoods. CLTs are found to be highly effective at capturing and maintaining affordable housing subsidies, and will ensure that development that will take place will be according to community needs and not profit motives. And these bills are the bare minimum to ensure that CLTs can survive. We need more housing, and this is the way to do it. CLTs need all the help that they can get against rampant and aggressive private market that has ravaged and displaced so many. Market solutions haven't been working, and our city can decide to change that. Our Black neighbors are fleeing the city in large part because of housing affordability. Brad Lander alluded to that, 9% over the last 2 decades. It's like a reverse Great Migration that's unacceptable. It's imperative that we fund and prioritize new and creative solutions to protect us and prevent displacement. And we've heard a lot from MWBEs today. I'm more concerned about the Black and brown neighbors that are displaced by the crisis of gentrification. And MWBEs alone are not equipped to address that. And at the end of the day, they are for-profit entities that have to answer to a bottom line. And like Paula said, these bills won't exclude these businesses from acquiring these public sites, but prioritize CLTs and nonprofits that are proven methods to more effectively maintain affordability in perpetuity. So we need to pass COPA, we need to pass the resolution, and Public Land for Public Good Act.
Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Kirk Goodrich. I'm a developer. I live in East Flatbush where I grew up. I've been in affordable housing for 35 years. It's what I studied in schools, my undergraduate. I know a lot about social housing for most of my life and all the other things we've been talking about. I want to just start by saying I have concerns about Intro 637. Affordable housing isn't affordable by virtue of who owns it. It's affordable by virtue of regulatory agreements. That governs affordability, nothing else. Doesn't matter. It's the reason why even on nonprofit-owned affordable housing, there are regulatory agreements. If tax status was the only thing that mattered, there would be no reason for regulatory agreements on nonprofit-owned housing. The overall issue we have in our business is a lack of supply. None of the bills we've talked about really affect supply. Affordability is something we can control through a regulatory agreement and other means. I want to talk a little bit about social housing. I see the benefits of it. I'm familiar with it. I studied it. I've executed projects of that kind. The issue is we need to have an ability for people to be upwardly mobile. Our company's done 2,500 homes for sale where people can actually build equity. It's hard for me to have a conversation about home ownership without wealth building. And so I want for Black and brown people what I have. I'm going to leave my home and equity to my kids. And so a conversation about wealth building without conventional home ownership is not one I understand. I'm not sure why I would want less for Black people than I want for myself. And if elected officials embrace that, they could sell their home into a CLT and leave their kids nothing. That's my opinion.
Oh, there we go. I want to say thank you so much. And someone said it, although please decorum in the chambers. But it's not zero sum, right? It's expanding the pie. And we hope to work together to expand the pie in ways that accomplish all of these goals. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You weren't here. Greetings.
Yeah. No, I was listening.
Yeah.
Mama has to pump for her baby. But I was here. I was listening. So I just want to thank the three of you for your time this evening.
It's good to have podcast stars in the chambers.
Yes.
Next, we will have Colin Kent Daggett, Mikkel Johnson, Danielle Mowry, and Hannah Anushe. If you're here, please come up to the table. You can begin when you're ready.
All right, we're wrapping up here. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for having this hearing, and I thank the Chair, Sanchez, and the committee members. And mainly, thank you for your focus on providing affordable, equitable, and stable housing for all New Yorkers. My name is Danielle Mowry. I'm a housing advocate, and I also consult with nonprofits, and today's brief comments represent my own views. But recently, I was on a project where I was doing citywide participatory budgeting, and out of that, out of the many workshops I did, there were 11 workshops I did with NYC public high school students and also CUNY college students. And in every workshop I did, housing was the dominant issue. But specifically for our city's youngest adults and pre-adults, I guess is the term, this is a concern now. And it's a concern that's shaping their futures. I went back and did another housing workshop in the high school then, specifically just on housing. And the main takeaway I'd like to share is it's echoing some of the commentaries made earlier. It's the urgency of now, as well as looking towards the future and making a shift. The students I encountered do not think they can stay in the city they call home. There is nowhere for them to go. Some are watching their families struggle with increased rent, working additional jobs to make ends meet. Some are in college, but are unable to move out on their own. Some are so concerned about their housing, they are thinking of interrupting their studies so they can work and save up for rent. Or they're in high school with part-time jobs so they can help make their families make ends meet. Many said they would have to leave the city as soon as they are able. This is the future we are currently building for our Gen Z kids, a New York they can't afford to call home. Part of the housing workshop I did included quotes, and some were from the 30s, and some were from today. Not only did the students realize that housing has been an issue for a long time, they also saw that another crisis, the Great Depression, motivated elected officials to create solutions. And I have the rest written in my summary, but I'll just say, I commend the committee for making legislation like this a priority. I know all of it needs tweaks and work to make it as strong as possible, but all of it is needed to shift the crisis of housing to one of generational opportunity for innovation and change so we can give our kids a future here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very compelling. Thank you.
Okay, for our next panel, we'll do Jay Haubin, Cecile De Laurentiis, Manny Tavares, and Michael Pirles. So when you are prompted, just make sure to unmute yourself on Zoom.
Your time will begin.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I be heard? Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try to get in touch with him outside of the Zoom and go to the next person.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
You can start now.
Next, Cecile De Laurentiis.
Your time will begin.
Hi, my name is Cecile De Laurentiis. I live on Woodside, and I'm on the steering committee of the Western Queens Community Land Trust, a member of the New York City Community Land Initiative, NICELY. Rachel spoke to it earlier, but the Western Queens CLT is a nonprofit organization made up of activists, small business owners, professors, artists, students, and community members who fight for democratic and equitable land use in Western Queens. I thank my colleagues on the CLT and in NICELY for testifying, and the committee today for holding this hearing and for introducing this bill package. I prepared words today in support of COPA, as my colleagues have spoken and written to the public land bill, and I'll try to make sure it's under the 2 minutes. COPA would give organizations like our CLT a fair chance at acquiring properties to build and preserve deeply affordable housing. As someone with both educational and professional background in community development, I know that New York City's uniquely robust infrastructure of community development organizations and CLTs make COPA a perfect fit to provide deeply affordable housing in this city. Queens, along with the rest of the city, has an urgent need for affordable housing. Speculative development has been ballooning here, and no one knows that need better than tenants themselves, who tell us this every time we speak to them. For this reason, Western Queens CLT is turning to new housing projects in addition to our high-profile project that was almost Amazon HQ2. Because CLTs listen to what their community members tell them. And this is why we believe in expanding the supply of community-controlled housing, especially for those who need it the most, so that residents can have a say in the management, stewardship, and affordability of their homes. Since the city government has declared a commitment to increasing affordable housing, passing the Community Land Act, all of these associated bills would be part of walking the walk with this. As Paula noted, this does not shut out MWBEs and private developers who are very needed to participate in these projects to make them happen. I know that's my time, and thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Manny Tavares.
Your time will start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Chair Sanchez and council members. My name is Manny Tavares. I'm with Agallas Equities, 100% Latino-owned real estate development company, and I'm here on behalf of dozens of development partners and numerous clients. I'm testifying today with strong opposition to Intro 637 being proposed by the council member Lincoln Rustler. It is our considered opinion that this legislation of its nature would do more harm than good to the already disadvantaged minority developers in the city. This opinion has been formed on the backdrop of publicly available information and historical statistics. This bill, however, creates more harm than good for MWBEs who are often already underrepresented, underfunded, and create a more competitive and less equitable environment for all developers. As members of the business community in New York City, we believe that everyone should have equal access to opportunities, regardless of race, tax status, and ethnicity. The bill, however, seeks to exclude minority-owned businesses for-profit developers like ourselves from being considered for property allocation, making it difficult for them to carry on their businesses. There is ample evidence to support the position that the bill would harm MWBE for-profit developers. The city's own data shows that have historically faced, MWBs have historically faced significant barriers to entry to opportunities in the development industry. Discrimination against all profit developers will only worsen inequalities. The city mayor's management report has already shown a 45% decrease in affordable housing production since 2022.
Time has expired.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tavares, and I look forward to your testimony as well if you're submitting, but hear you loud and clear and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Michael Pearls.
Time will begin.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks to Committee Chair Sanchez. Hi, great to see you. I'm really excited about today's hearing, the opportunity to testify. Again, my name is Mike Perlis. I'm an urban planner. I teach urban studies courses at Hunter College. I've worked at HPD in the past, at nonprofits. I currently serve on the board of Cooper Square Mutual Housing Association 2, which is the affordable housing co-op that sits on top of the Cooper Square Community Land Trust, which is the oldest CLT, as has been mentioned already today, in New York City. I'm in strong support of all of the bills we're discussing today. And Cooper Square MHA2, is really proud to be a part of this movement. As many of you know, we're one of the success stories that we have in the city of deeply affordable cooperative housing. And I think a lot of that is owed to the power of our community and the power of community organizing. I try not to repeat what others have said, but the status quo is not working. Tweaking tax break percentages and trading some AMI levels for others, really isn't fundamentally addressing the issue. We need to invest in and pass laws that are alternative approaches to things that we know work, right? So people probably saw reporting from the city that said that 1 in 10 rent stabilized units has disappeared from landlords' tax bills from 2020 and didn't come back in 2021. That shouldn't be possible after the passage of HSTPA in 2019, but it's happening with private landlords and investor companies. At Cooper Square, tenants and shareholders don't have to worry about getting pushed out of our housing or worry about massive rent increases because our housing is communally owned, it's democratically controlled, and we're shielded from many of the market pressures that exist. As Chair Sanchez said at the beginning of this hearing, the racial wealth gap in this country has actually grown since the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1968. We have to do
Your
things
time
differently.
has expired.
And just quickly before I end, I want to say, I'm personally going through my landlord selling my building. It's hell. I'm luckily a rent stabilized tenant, so I'm not getting pushed out. My 2 neighbors in my building that are not rent stabilized are getting pushed out. If we don't pass these bills, that will just keep happening. And we really need to think about the millions of Black and brown tenants, not just the small handful of landlords and developers.
Thank you, Michael. It's good to see you, and I appreciate your testimony today.
Next, we have Albert Scott, Boris Santos, Deborah Ack, and Tito Delgado.
Your time will start now.
They're here in person.
Good afternoon, everyone. What a day. Boris Santos, he, him, with the East New York Community Land Trust. I am the treasurer, to be frank. Talk about MWBEs. There's no more blacker or browner than you can get than the East New York Community Land Trust. But there's a difference. And Brianna talked about our formation, so I'm just going to keep it very succinct. We came about to end speculatory housing practices, period. That's why we're here. And that might not be a mission that MWBEs are aligned with us. And that's okay. But let's not make no mistake, they're not here to partner even with us to some degrees. Because if they were, they would be still here trying to get my number and saying, how can we help you in your quest to end and eliminate speculatory practices? So I just want to make that clear. The New York City Acquisition Fund, there's a quick flaw in it. The flaw is that it doesn't support home ownership projects, shared equity projects. It's mostly rental projects. So look into that, Pierina, because we have. The bottom line problem is that any funding that you get from any level of government is reimbursement money. So I definitely agree with our council member Nurse in terms of how housing financing works nowadays for our governments, and they rely on failed capitalist strategies, was what she specifically wrote in City Limits. And it's true. If you ask us to upfront capital, and you know there have been issues with access of capital, especially in Black and brown communities, forever, especially in East New York, where you have a book written about the creation of a ghetto, East New York, Walter Thabit, then make no mistake, we're going to come here and we're going to say the solution is CLA, the Community Land Act, right? And so we want to continue to partner with that. We want to look into this Affordable Plus program that Kavanaugh has, Brian Kavanaugh. There's no partner and the budget is about to pass too, so we want to make sure that we can influence that, but we'll talk more offline. And I do see in you a sincere, genuine partner, Pirina, that we can mix things, like literally shake things up with. So I appreciate you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Boris. I appreciate you.
Who's up next? Me? Oh. Good afternoon, early evening, Madam Pirina Sanchez and the Housing Committee members who are present. My name is Deborah Ack, and I'm a member of the East New York Community Land Trust. I'm also a longtime 30-year-plus resident of East New York. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify on behalf of my community, East New York. We, East New Yorkers, are extremely overwhelmed with the high-end developers coming into our neighborhood and developing what is not needed, affordable, or it displaces our community residents. CLTs have, for a long time across this nation, proven that they can be instrumental in developing our community and stewarding the land. Let's bring New York City into the 21st century. I'm not going to sit here and repeat everything that you've heard about the CLA, the Community Land Act. Let's get this done. Let's move us forward into the 21st century. What I am going to say is I'm going to talk about the 79,000 people in New York who live in shelters or on the streets, and that figure is only rising. Still, thousands more are living in unsafe and overcrowded conditions that face homelessness. Non-for-profit developers are more likely than for-profit developers to build affordable housing, take on complex projects, and maintain affordability over the long run, over the long term, or in perpetuity. Unlike for-profit developers, non-profit developers most often keep revenue in the community and are more likely to build more deeply affordable housing. In closing, I look over your head, Councilmember Pirina, and it says, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. Let's take that another step further. Let's let it say, a community of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah, and thank you for being here today since early and just all of your leadership on this issue.
Good evening, Council Member and Housing Committee. My name is Albert Scott, President of the East New York Community Land Trust, and our organization is also partnered with Nicely, that's doing tremendous work. I'm just here speaking of this to encourage this Housing Committee to definitely get the CLA, the Community Land Act, done. In particular, when they speak about the Public Land for Public Good Act, Intro 637, I want you to double down. I want you to double down in the sense that prioritize CLTs and nonprofits. The language does include the MWBEs, but do not budge, and I do not want to see CLTs, nonprofits, and MWBEs along those particular lines. We are doubling down. The realities are this. Community wealth building is important. This package of bills will be the spark for that. We all know that the realities are this. Whoever controls the land controls their destiny. And this here, the community, especially Community Land Trust in my beloved East New York, will have an opportunity to actually spark true community wealth building. We all know that over 60% of money is going towards housing. Can you imagine under a CLT that extra disposable income to start a business, to send their children to school, to invest in their retirement? and things of that nature. So I definitely want to leave you just to be empowered, this committee to be strong. Do not be intimidated by bullies. We all believe in local community wealth building. Thank you for your time. Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. Thank you so much for your testimony. And as the president, if I can just have a moment and ask, what is the level of support that the East New York CLT is receiving from the city of New York?
From the level of support is a combination of different things. You're talking about in regards to, oh, the money. We're definitely a part of Nicely as far as the city council with the city initiative. That definitely helps all CLTs throughout New York City. And then also, of course, we have dynamic local supporters that help in those efforts and the fundraising efforts of our organization. And that's due to our level of our grassroots mobilization. They're actually seeing the work, and I also encourage you to visit eastnewyorkclt.org and check out our black paper. In academic circles, they call it the white paper, but out in East New York, it's the black paper, where we identify public land and things of that nature, where volunteers actually went around the community to identify vacant lots and organized around that to get community input as far as what they would like to see through various community visioning sessions. And as a result, we grow together, and that's the spark of true community wealth building.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Boris.
I just quickly want to add, so CLT initiative funds is basically our source of funding for the last 3-4 years. And we haven't seen an increase in this new city council. We're gonna ask for that, of course, but take into account, you set up all these institutions, all these bills get passed, right? You have to resource them. You have to make sure they have the operating funds. And so that's where CLT initiative and those operating funds pools. So beyond CLT initiative, some discretionary grant funding from our council members, but beyond that, you're talking about, we've been in formation for just over 2 years, and we've privately fundraised more, like 2 times, 3 times more than what the city has given us. It was particularly in this year as well for this fiscal year. So yeah.
Got it. Thank you, and that's very helpful for me to hear. Thank you. I just want to underscore just how important it is to, and I know you've given up a day, right, and you've been here all day. But having your testimony on the record makes all the difference in terms of when we go back to negotiate. The city council doesn't hear bills twice, right? We hear them one time, and it's really important to get all of that on the record now so that we have that fodder, right? That substance to actually fight back and forth on the final product. So we'll continue talking, but I just want to thank you so much for your time, because it really makes a difference, and it's really getting us a step closer to this being a reality.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Jay Haubin, Zakia Grant, Gregory Baggett, and Matthew Dunbar.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
hello?
we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this hearing, and for staying around long enough to hear me. My name is Jay Haubin. I've had the great fortune of living 40 of my 81 years of life in social housing in New York City, in co-ops, and in supported a kind of housing in the Bronx that was built in 1934 and 1927, for that matter. It's very important what you're doing. You're putting forward a new ideology and direction for housing in the city. That is the goal of social housing. And that's a goal that takes the profit out of housing and makes housing for people, which is housing for living. And so I definitely support, in particular, Intro 196 and Resolution 1838, because if we can help people who are renters to have the opportunity to buy their building as cooperators, and to then have the chance to become of social housing with deep, decom-modified in particular, but democratically controlled and deeply affordable, we are giving them something that they can pass on, not as wealth, but as human life to the next generation. And we have a model for that. The model is Mishilama, where there's no profit and there's democratic control, and where people have a chance to see themselves in a stable situation that contributes to their community. And so, as well as supporting the creation of
Time has expired.
let me just finish. We should not let any social housing be taken away from people. And that's possible if HPD has programs where they transition out of nonprofit Mishilama into low profit but profitable HDFCs. And
Thank
so
you.
our whole effort is to preserve.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. J. It's really helpful to hear your story, 40 years in social housing. We appreciate your time this evening.
Next, Janet Gutierrez, Whitney Hu, Brian Fotino, Annie Carfora. Okay, next is Jacob Kendall Schneider, Albert Kakuji, Eugene Dubnow, and Valerie White. Rachel Webster, Adam Roberts, Erica Keller, Thomas Campbell, Warren Harding, Ramona Ferreira, and Clint from Western Queens Community Land Trust. Okay, this concludes the public testimony. If we have inadvertently forgotten to call on someone to testify, if you can raise your hand in Zoom or raise your hand in the room, we'll try to hear from you now. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. With that, I want to reiterate my gratitude to our staff, our committee staff, as well as my team in the district office and everyone who took a day off, or I don't know what you did to be here, but you're here, and I really just want to appreciate that. And just in closing, to reiterate, we have to do things differently in the city of New York. We cannot continue to just leave out those in New York City who need help the most and who need stability the most, and who history owes the biggest debt to. And so I look forward to synthesizing all of the feedback that we heard today and working with all of you to get to the best versions of these bills. Thank you so much for your time. With that, this hearing is closed.